He's online.
Supposed to be all set up.
Oh, is he online?
He's online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Wilson, can you hear us?
Maybe.
Hey, we're ready to start. Is Matt on? Okay. But he's all hooked up. Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, thank you. He says he's all hooked up, he's just haven't done the meeting yet.
Okay.
He's doing it over the phone, yeah.
System's not running. I was gonna say I'm gonna go.
Commissioner Wilson, are you on? You're still working on that?
I'm gonna go grab a coffee.
He's joined.
Okay. All right. I'd like to begin with the Morgan County Commission meeting of January 4th, 2022. All members of the commission are present, with Commissioner Wilson participating electronically. We're going to begin this evening by swearing in Leslie Hyde as the Morgan County Clerk Auditor. So if you would please stand.
I'm coming over here so I can read off your paper.
I'll do the reading. You just raise your right hand.
Okay.
So it's the oath of office. I, Leslie A. Hyde,
I, Leslie A. Hyde,
having been appointed to the office of Morgan County Clerk Auditor,
having been appointed to the office of Morgan County Clerk Auditor,
do solemnly swear that I will support,
do solemnly swear I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
So I sign here and you sign there.
Yep.
Now you're really in for it. Okay.
I'll
There you go. You sign
Thank
over
you.
there. All right, well, that's exciting. If you would like to take photos, you could take that opportunity. Stacy's going to give you a hug. We also know that this means that Stacy will not be in the building as often and that she's going to be on doing other things, but we appreciate her service over many decades. And I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the cupcakes and the cookies back there are for this occasion. So for those of you who came for this, please make sure you take one on the way out.
Sure. Be happy to.
Okay, now, since they all came up for the photo, let's have you introduce who they are. I don't want to put you on the spot. Sometimes they ask me about my family, and it's like son 1, son 3.
They just followed you in?
So this is my mom, Lori Anderson, my brother Doug Anderson, and my sister-in-law Tracy,
Thanks for coming.
and my husband Travis,
How are you?
Colton, and Aubrey, my children.
Great. Thanks for coming and for supporting your mom, sister, and daughter. Don't forget the cookies and the cupcakes. Most of the commissioners set New Year's resolutions.
To lose some weight.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. We'll begin now with the invocation and our moment of reflection. I've asked, and the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Newton is going to do that.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to gather here at the start of a new year as the County Commission, and we're grateful for the great place that we live and the wonderful community that we live in. We're grateful for those who are with us tonight, both in person and online, and we ask you to please bless them. We're grateful for new beginnings with our new Clerk Auditor and ask you to please bless her in her endeavors. We're grateful for the moisture that we've received and the continued snow, and ask that we'll continue to receive moisture for the coming season. As we take part in the meeting this evening, we ask that we will be able to make wise decisions and contemplate the needs of our county. And these things we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item of business is selection of the Morgan County Commission Chair and Vice Chair. I'll begin by nominating Commissioner Newton as the County Commission Chair.
I'll second that. If you have to have a second.
Are there any other nominations for Chair? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I'll nominate Jared Anderson as Vice Chair.
I'll second. Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Nay.
opposed?
Nay. Sorry, Jared.
Okay, I think that, so you were an affirmative vote?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I can, vote for myself out.
You
loud.
can.
Okay, there you
And
go.
then we were affirmative. And Commissioner Wilson, you were an affirmative vote.
Is he
Correct?
there?
I thought I heard him.
Is he there? He's not there.
Now we
Oh,
can.
Now we can. Were you an affirmative vote for Commissioner Anderson as Vice Chair?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
You can change your mind.
all right. That passes.
Are you guys gonna tear up like I did?
No.
I'm very disappointed to
As we should both.
Okay, I will then turn the meeting over to Commissioner Newton.
Oh, okay. All right. We will move on to Morgan County Commission portfolio assignments. There's a list of those current portfolio assignments from 2021 in our packet. I think maybe first off, we should just ask if there are commissioners who would like to change their assignments or feel a need to make a change.
You wanted to.
I think I will actually ask for a change on mine on economic development. I've been doing that for 3 years and last year with Commissioner Fackrell, and it's been a great experience. But I think I'd like to hand that off to someone else at this point.
When do you have your regular meetings on that?
Wednesday mornings,
What time?
first one in the month, first Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
8 a.m. That's the CED.
That's the CED.
Is
And
it
then,
about an hour?
and
It's
then
2 hours.
yeah.
And then
And then
we also typically have a meeting once a week with our economic development contractor.
So does that mean you also want to be off of the tourism one also, Mike?
I don't think I was, I am listed
You
on
are.
tourism. Yes, I think it would be best if whoever takes that takes both economic development and tourism. Now, I believe there are probably a couple of items that we had that the chair took as part of those responsibilities, so I'd be happy to take that, if there are any, Robert, from you.
So, I can take economic development and what was the other one?
Tourism.
Tourism.
That includes the T-tab, the trails, and everything else.
Okay. I think that you might need to take the Envision Utah.
Okay. I'm happy to do that one. And insurance personnel, is that one that's supposed to be with the chair? Does that matter? I don't know if it does.
That would probably be a good one, but that one hasn't involved a lot of time other than just when we do have personnel.
Which one did you say?
Okay,
Insurance/personnel.
yeah.
The other one that takes a lot of time or has regular meetings, I can't change YCC, they just put me on their executive board, but the Wasatch Front Regional Council, the Regional Growth Committee.
Oh, yeah. So, actually,
That means you're off.
Commissioner Wilson, how would you feel about becoming the main person on WFRC Regional Growth, and I would take the alternate position?
That's fine.
Is that okay with you? I am the member already on WFRC on the council itself. Well, I'd be removing from the economic development WFRC as well, I would think. And perhaps Commissioner Fackrell, you could take the main position on that,
I could.
and Commissioner McConnell could be the alternate.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
And that's on economic development?
Yeah, WFRC, WEFED. It's the Wasatch Front Economic Development Council. Are there any others? And I guess
Yeah.
we'll just go one by one here. Commissioner
So
Wilson.
is that meeting tomorrow?
Yes,
It
tomorrow morning,
is
Where is it at?
8
At-
a.m.
at the
and the BRC.
BRC,
Okay.
across the street from.
And we've also got that opioid thing at 9. So,
Commissioner Wilson, do you have any changes you'd like to make?
No, I was just telling Jared earlier, I'm barely getting a grip on what I got right now. I'm fine unless somebody has something that they'd like, or if somebody's reported me as a bad steward.
Matt?
I don't think so, not at all.
Well, actually, it's more Jared. Jared, did you want to switch your role on JPAC and do the regional council? The Wasatch Front Regional Council?
In place of you on Wasatch Front Regional Council? Or how would you?
I mean, the JPAC,
We don't do
you're more into transportation than I am.
Right,
So I just thought maybe if you'd like to do that one,
that's fine.
and if you want, I'll do the UAC. Because you said
I-
that would took a lot of time for you.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, and I actually like being on UAC.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get a feel for what they're doing in that, so.
Okay.
And I don't know, does that one, can that one have two of us on, but I think one of us,
UAC?
yeah, one of
UAC.
us would have to be,
One
of
would be
course,
an
the-
alternate.
Yeah, one would be an alternate. I think as an alternate, Blaine, that'd be,
Okay, I
I'd be
won't
more than
mind
welcome to
that.
have you join as an alternate, so.
Okay, I'll do that. And then, so Mike, you're still gonna stay on the Wasatch Front Regional Council?
Correct.
Okay, and
Yeah.
me as an alternate, or is somebody else there?
I'm good with that unless somebody else wants to take it,
Okay, I'll be on it.
or if you don't want to take it.
No, I'll still be there.
Okay.
And then, and I'll still stay over to IT if you want.
And I don't think we have that listed on here. We should
It's-
add
We
that.
need to add that.
So if you'll do that, add IT to the list.
And then my only other comment is that we need to take, since these are portfolio assignments of the commission, we need to take off all the names that are not commissioners.
You could do, you could separate out the list so that there were commissioner portfolio assignments and then say other
Okay.
county appointments. It's good to have the information.
At least know who's responsible for what.
So Matt was gonna take over what ones? Was Matt gonna take over any
He's
additional?
not changing. He said he was good
Oh.
with what he had.
I have her down on the, Regional Growth Committee
Okay,
with Mike as an alternate.
okay. And Robert? Oh, so Robert, you're not on that one anymore? Okay, Matt,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
so Mike.
That was the only change for Matt, was moving from alternate to the main on WFRC Regional Growth.
And then I requested, if it was okay with, since I'm doing so much in economic development, that I be put on the Weaver River Restoration along with Mike, if he wants to continue that.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Any other items? Commissioner Anderson?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Commissioner Fackrell?
Nope.
Commissioner McConnell?
Nothing for me.
Okay, perfect. I think we probably need a vote just confirming that we're all good with the current or the newly updated assignments. So with that, I'll look for a motion to approve the newly updated 2022 portfolio assignments.
So can I ask one question?
You sure can.
Is, Garrett on the CJC then? Is that how that is?
No.
So it is Jan's name, but I
Yeah.
think we can just update that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the Morgan County 2022 Commission portfolio assignments as discussed.
Second?
We have a motion, Chairman McConnell, to approve the 2022 portfolio assignments as discussed, and a second from Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, moving on to the consent items. We only have one consent item, and that is the minutes from the December 21st, 2021 meeting. Any
You want them-
updates to the minutes?
Yeah, there was a mistake. And I'm sorry I didn't get it to you, Leslie.
That's okay.
Too many things going on.
What page?
I'm getting it. On the page 9, just an English thing. Commissioner McConnell will work with Teresa Wardell on preparing an agreement instead of and. It's the very first sentence on the top of that page.
You said page 9?
Page 9 of my. It's
Oh, of the packet.
Of the
Okay,
packet.
gotcha.
Sorry, that's all I've got.
So that'd be page 5 of the minutes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other notes on the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, with
Oh,
that,
hold it, yes. There was one more on number 3 on page 6. Where you were, it's talking, I mean, that whole sentence needs to be redone. It says the county agrees to defer the installation of the required until such time as the county determines, So there's just double.
Okay,
So you need to just take out that extra in there.
and then add improvements after required,
Right.
right? Installation of the required improvements until such time as the county determines.
Yes.
Typically, you capitalize county in these minutes, so you
okay.
And I think that was it.
Okay, with
Yeah, that
that,
was
we'll
it.
look for a motion to approve the minutes from the December 21st, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner McConnell to approve the minutes from the December 21st, 2021 meeting. Do we have a second?
Second?
Seconded from Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor? I said Anderson, excuse me, Commissioner Fackrell. Oh, wow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. All right, declarations of conflicts of interest. Any commissioners with conflicts of interest of any item on the agenda?
Chair, I put my name in for appointment to Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, item number 12.
Okay,
So I just wanted to declare that.
okay. So noted. All right, any others? Okay, seeing none, we will move to our we will move to our public comment period. This is an opportunity for the public to make comment on any items related to our action items or any items not on the agenda. There will be a public hearing for item F, which is a land use item. With that, we'll open up the public comment period. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment period and move to action item number 1. Mr. Austin Turner, CJC information, $40,000 funds of ARPA funds for building new CJC.
How are you guys doing today? I got contacted by the director of the CJC, Rod Layton, and he's actually here, and he's going to do the presentation. This is something that Morgan County, we've started to use more and more. The Children's Justice Center is a place that we can go and interview children that are victims of any kind of abuse. It's a very specialized place with specialized training on how to deal with the youth. And thanks to not only an increase in our use of it, but other agencies' use of it, they're needing to expand their facilities. So I'm going to let him take over and make the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. First of all, I appreciate just a few minutes. I know you have a big agenda, so I'll try to be quick with this. I do want to say that our staff absolutely loves Detective Turner. He is, when they hear he's coming down out of the mountains, it's like, yes, we get to see Austin. So we thoroughly enjoy working with Morgan County. It's been a great relationship over the years. We've been in business since 1991, and Morgan has always been a very big part of the CJC, the Children's Justice Center. I gave you a handout so I can explain this fairly quick, I think. If you look at the very first page, you will see that since 2008, we had 503 cases of child sexual abuse, physical abuse, drug endangerment. Anytime a child has become a victim of a crime. If you look at 2021, we're at 800 cases. So literally in the last few years, we've gone up almost double. So we anticipate that will just continue to rise. 300 cases I guess as you look at police cases, doesn't seem like an awful lot, but when you're doing all the services we do with each and every child that comes through that center, it's a tremendous amount of work. What's happened, and we didn't just start this program because of ARPA dollars that came along. ARPA was just something that we took a look at and went, we're gonna jump on the boat with this, on the bandwagon. This project started 2.5 years ago. As we looked at our center and went, we are just dying here. It's too small. I have staff in closets for offices. We've just outgrown it. We can't sustain this much longer. I think we're in a critical phase of where we've got to build a new CJC. The last meeting I attended, which was last night with all the city mayors in Ogden and Weber County, one of the things that was asked is, why don't we just add on? Why don't we just renovate the center that we have? We looked at that. We had 3 architects come in. They said absolutely no way to do that. Move on, cut your losses, and build a new center. We've also been asked, well, why can't you retrofit? Find another building, move in, and just make that work. That's not how it works. As Austin will tell you, it's extremely specialized. The building has to look a certain way. The reason we started the CJCs in 1991 is because we didn't want children going to police department. The last thing we want is a child that's been involved with sexual abuse to pull up in front of a police department with guns and badges and police cars out front. That child will instantly believe that they've done something wrong. And so, starting from the outside of the building, when a person pulls up, it depends on how good that investigation is going to go. So we have an idea of how we're going to design this. It's going to be a state-of-the-art CJC. It's going to be 3 times the size of the building we have now. It's going to have the ability to build on. So we're going to have additional space. We've got 2 acres right now that we found. We're going to lease that property that will save us $1.5 million. And so we have a partner in that with the Ogden School District. The total project is going to be about $5.5 million. And it's going to be a CJC that we hope will last us for many, many, many years. One of the things that I like to mention, and since 1991, we've never gone to another government entity for money. We've never gone to Morgan County. We've never gone to any of the city governments in Weber County. We've never asked for money in 30 years. We anticipate and we hope that once we get this center built, that we won't be coming back for more money in the future. Once the building is built, it will be under the direction of Weber County, the construction of that building, and then it will be turned over to a nonprofit, which is the Friends of the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center. Once it's turned over, they will maintain the building. I don't think there's a better deal in town than the way the CJC operates. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that by state law, kids are required to be interviewed at a CJC. So we're not just a convenience that makes it easier. Under state law, we're required to interview at CJCs. We're required to offer mental health support. We're required to do medical examinations. So the CJC is kind of unique in that it's a nonprofit, but it's required by the state. It's under state statute. So law enforcement is not necessarily required to interview at a CJC, but DCFS is. And DCFS has to partner with a police officer to do those interviews. So, in a nutshell, you're required to come to a CJC for your cases. If you look at the next couple of pages, so what we did is we took all the cases from 2021, 2020, and 2019, and we just made a pie chart on how often that center is used by all the resources that come in. If you notice, Morgan County isn't high. 3.6% of the time, Morgan County comes in and uses our center. So what we did with that is we then took that and translated it into $1.5 million. The way I got $1.5 million is the Weber County Commission has stepped up and said, if you will come up with $1.5 million from all the other government entities involved with the CJC, we will give you $1 million. If you look at the very last page and you look at all the money, the way that that's been divvied up, the very last line, it says Weber County plus contracted cities and others, $383,000. So if we were to divide this up equally, including Weber County and their contract cities and the unincorporated areas, the allotment for Weber County would be $383,000. So the commissioners have really stepped up, I believe, in Weber County and said, we'll give you $1 million. So they're gonna give us $600,000 over what we're really asking in our formula, which reduces the amount. On the very top line, you'll see Morgan County. 40,000 is what we're asking for ARPA dollars from Morgan County. If Weber County wasn't stepping up and doing their part, we'd be asking for 67,000. So we really do feel like Weber County has stepped up and is doing their part to make this happen. And the other cities, when I presented last night to them, I really didn't get a lot of negative feedback, like, you know, why do we have to do this? The question comes up quite often is, whose responsibility is it? And, you know, I've been doing this for almost 35 years now, crimes against children. And if I had $1 for every time somebody says, well, it's somebody else's responsibility, I wouldn't be coming to you for money because I have millions of dollars. So I go to state meetings and the state will say, this is a county problem. I'll go to a county meeting and the county will say, this is a state problem, or this is a city problem. If I go to the cities, it's a county problem or a state problem. And so as I listened to those conversations over all those years, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it to take care of children that come out of their communities that have been sexually abused? And as I look at that, I think it's all three. The state has some responsibilities. The county certainly has some responsibilities because they prosecute those cases. But the one that I believe has probably the most responsibility is the communities, the cities and the towns. We take their children out that have been sexually abused or physically abused. We bring them to the center. We start that healing process. We make sure those interviews happen and they're done correctly. We get them into medical exams. We check their bodies to make sure they're healthy and strong and there's no issues there. That's a giant factor. And then we provide mental health resources to them following that process. And then we put them back into your communities. So if you really want to look at it, one of the mayors just nailed it last night when I was talking to that group, and he said, you know, we can either pay for it right now and try to do all that we can for these children and then put them back into our communities, or we're just going to pay for it later if we don't do it right up front. So in last night's meeting, the commissioner did bring up something that was a little bit interesting, Commissioner Floric. He said, if you go to the cities or you go to Morgan and they just feel like 40,000 is too much in 1 year, he said we would be willing to cover some of those expenses if they want to extend that over for a couple of years, instead of just doing it in one lump sum, or whatever, you know, you folks decide on this. But that's why I'm here tonight. If the ARPA dollars was just something that just came at a perfect time. If we're successful in getting ARPA funding from some of these entities, then we could dig by July or August. If we don't, a year from that. Then we've got to do a capital campaign, and not really sure have the strength to do a whole capital campaign. We're really getting $2.5 million from government. Another $1.5 million will come from the sale of our current CJC. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going to throw in a big chunk of money depending on how much everybody else does. And then we'll have some private donations. And we'll also have a contractor that's kind of told us, do what you can and then come. So we are really going out sources. So we really have tried to spread this out as much as we can. And like I said at the beginning, if we can get the building built, we can we can start our operations right up. I don't anticipate that we'll be coming back to you. The building will be turned over to the nonprofit who will do the maintenance, they'll do the upkeep, they'll take it from there. So I don't know of another program that actually does it that way. So it's a big benefit to have that nonprofit involved. Questions from commissioners?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay?
How do we know that ARPA dollars were covered? Because I put in a request to UAC to find out if it did. I haven't received a response yet. So I'm just curious how it became,
Qualified.
how it qualifies.
Okay, and I can get that to you. I can get that up to Austin and get it to you guys. When we did our grant, it absolutely qualifies 100%. It fits under the health and safety component of ARPA, and if you look at that, I don't think there's another project that is more qualified for ARPA. They're looking for brick and mortar. They're looking for something that will be long lasting. They're looking for something that will improve the health and safety of children or citizens in their community. So far, Utah County has bought a building and built a CJC with ARPA. Salt Lake County has already built a building with ARPA, and Cache County has already built one with ARPA, and St. George has added on to theirs with ARPA. So it absolutely qualifies. I can get more information up to you. I did take all the criteria down to our civil attorney at the Weber County Attorney's Office, and he looked at it, came back and said, there's no problems whatsoever.
Okay.
The one thing that we are going to do is all the money will be run through Weber County instead of our nonprofit. So Weber County will be in charge of making sure that all the dollars are spent and that they do qualify for ARPA. And there would be no problems, but I can provide all kinds of stuff from the state, from the Attorney General's office that said absolutely you're right on track with ARPA dollars.
Mr. Chair, what's the status of our ARPA dollars?
Yeah, so I was just looking at that. We have thus far voted and committed for $825,000 worth of expenditures of our total $2.3 million ARPA.
Did you get in there I haven't seen your latest list. I thought we were at $1,047,000.
Not that we've actually voted on. So what we voted on and approved was the hiring of 2 deputies over a 3-year period. That was $600,000. $75,000 for our attorney's office, which is to help with extra help for the backlog of cases. And then $150,000 on the water infrastructure project at the fairgrounds.
And what about the $100,000 for the for Morgan Sewer District? Mountain Green Sewer District.
Yeah, so what we voted on there was that we would provide that if they got the grant funding.
Okay, well,
I haven't heard on that, so I haven't officially taken that out, but that would be
Didn't
another
they get the grant
portion.
funding, Jerry?
They did get a portion of grant funding.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Well,
we probably ought to put that
Yeah.
at least 100,000 on here,
I would.
and oops, I put $1 million. Now, I will note a couple of these items. Of course, we got our first chunk, our first tranche of money already. The second will be coming next July or August, I believe.
Is that 2 million number the total?
Yes, so the total that we will get is $2,354,945. So half of that we've already received. Some of those items, though, like I said, the sheriff's deputies, that was supposed to be over a 3-year period, so we don't anticipate spending all of that out of this tranche. We will some out of the next. So I guess the purpose in saying that is that there's still funding in the bank available today to cover another about $600,000 or so.
Okay, I'm fine with it then.
Can I make a comment, Chair?
Sure can.
I know in a couple discussions I've had, we didn't have the backup information of how these monies were being divided up, and so with that information, we use the center. And I think it's, as Rod has mentioned, I think it's debatable on, is it one of the top centers we use or need as far as safety and health for our residents. So I actually appreciate all the work that you've done, Rod, and going around to Weber County and all the different people who use it and coming up with the numbers and saying everybody's paying their fair share and willing to. I didn't have that background information, so I didn't understand fully what was happening and how it was happening. But to even 1 second question the importance of having a center like that for our residents, I don't think that's in question at all. So I appreciate what you've done.
Thanks, Jared.
Also, I just want to say that event you had earlier this year was great.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Austin and I had a great time.
That's actually the organization, when you attended, that's the one that will take it over and actually manage the center. And that's just a giant benefit, that we don't come back and ask for tax dollars. And I don't know too many services like that you don't come back and say, we need more tax money. We won't be doing that, because they'll take care of it through those fundraisers. We might ask you to come to our events, but that's better.
Yeah.
You know, which, yeah, those have been a struggle because of COVID, so we're down a little bit on our money there, but we're doing fine.
Can I interject one thing? Just want to give you guys a heads up. We probably have one of the best CJCs in the Western United States. Rod's not going to stand up here and brag about that, but when it comes to training people, especially in the state of Utah, we use, well, the state AG's office uses the CJC people that work in the Weaver Morgan CJC. They go down and train the rest of the state on how to do it. They're some of the best forensic interviewers that you will ever meet. And it's a pleasure to go down there and work, and some of the things we do is just heartbreaking, doesn't it say? Some of the poor kids that have to deal with the things that we see, heartbreaking just is not enough to explain it. But I couldn't imagine a better place to take a young kid and have them start the process of healing. And it's through the CJC, and realistically, ask around, we have probably the premier CJC in Utah at least. And so I just wanted to add that in. I know Rod wouldn't brag about that himself, but I sure will for it.
Thank you.
And I can just add in too that as things have moved forward with the county attorney's office and the prosecution, some of these jury trials have been settled. And so if there needs to be some reallocation of what was set aside for the county attorney's office, this relates to what we do. And as far as how they handle these victims, these children that go through it, they do a really excellent job. And so if that's necessary as well, we can reallocate that. I don't imagine we'd use that full amount that's been set aside, given some of the updates.
I think looking at the list, I don't know that it'd be necessary to reallocate at this point. Maybe down the road, once we, we could determine that. So with that, we'll look for a motion on item number 1.
I'll make a motion that we approve $40,000 of funds from the ARPA fund for the new CJC building.
I'll second it.
Okay, just a point of clarification, the request is for $40,713.15.
Right.
Sounds good.
We good with that? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a
Why
motion.
don't you just round it up to 41,000?
Let's do that. Are you guys okay with that?
I'm fine.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the expenditure of $41,000 from ARPA funding to go to the CJC. That funding will go through Weber County, so we'll need to make arrangements, and I don't know how they're collecting that, but if you'll just get with our clerk and let us know, we'll get that taken care
They'll go
of.
through Weber County. I just talked to them today about it, and we're formulating that.
Okay,
how that would
perfect.
actually work.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
I wish all the cities were like this. I could go home and sleep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Turner. Item number 2, you're up again. Pre-disaster mitigation plan resolution.
Yes, it's, our pre-disaster mitigation plan was finally approved by FEMA. We only had to make 2 goes at it. The second go, we got it through. So what we need tonight is we just need to sign the resolution. I updated the resolution with the correct clerk auditor in there. Leslie was kind enough to babysit me through the process to get her name on there. But that's been not in your packet, but we have that ready to sign.
We
you guys
do
have
have
any
a
questions
resolution
for
in the
me?
packet, just,
You what?
we do have the older resolution, so all you've done
Right,
is.
but we have one to be signed with her name on it.
And what
You can
about
change it to
Mike's?
Put his name on it too.
Oh, I will hand deliver the right names in the right places.
We messed that up on you, didn't we?
I can quickly fix that. If it's passed, I will make sure that correct everything gets back
And I'm gonna
here.
give you a resolution number 2, so
Yes,
it'll be perfect when you get
perfect.
done.
Text that
I'm sure it's going to be 2201, right?
That's right.
possibly. I didn't want to, Anyway, this resolution is very important because this is what all FEMA grants and stuff are tied to from here for the next 5 years. Next week, I'm meeting with the city council to get them to sign a similar resolution because their brick grants are being held up as we speak. So they got denied brick grants last year. They're actually supposed to be approved by now, but they're holding them until they can get this a similar resolution signed for the city. So this is something that we've paid for, we've worked at, and we're just ready for the signing of the document.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution CR-2201, a resolution of the Morgan County Commission adopting the Morgan County Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan 2021 update.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Member McConnell, Commissioner, now I'm messing up the titles. Commissioner McConnell, and a second by Commissioner Fackrell, to approve Resolution CR-2201, a resolution adopting the Morgan County Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan 2021 update. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have
Any
to do it
opposed?
by,
Oh, I'm sorry, this is a roll call vote.
Oh, yes.
You're right. I'll start with Commissioner McConnell.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Fackrell,
aye.
and Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you. I'll make the appropriate corrections and be right back.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Evans, Canyon View Commercial West preliminary plat, a proposed preliminary plat for a 9-lot commercial subdivision located approximately 5800 West Old Highway Road in Mountain Green.
Good evening, this is a 9-lot subdivision. It's part 2 really of the Canyon View Commercial Subdivision, which was 7 lots approved last year. And then, so this is 9 lots. It's going to continuation of the loop that was initially approved and terminated. It's located here on South of Old Highway, north of 84, close to the mouth of the canyon. Planning Commission recommends approval. There are several conditions. There are fire, county engineer, surveyor, and Mountain Green fire comments do need to be addressed, but that can come forward with the final plat. Those items are small detail items that can be corrected before the final plat is submitted. Also significant requirement for the final plat submittal, should this be approved, is that the UDOT access permit that connects the site to the Paul property to the northwest side of the property access permit is conditionally approved right now. There's more work that needs to be done on that. The other access point is a right in, right out. So that full access is still being reviewed by UDOT, but that will have to be completed before the final plat can be submitted. It meets all the code requirements. The zoning is commercial highway. The future land use map is commercial as well, so this will be a continuation of the previously KMU commercial, previously approved plat. Not sure exactly the uses that will come in with this, but they do have, they've got to kind of get this done first to lock down some people, I guess. Planning Commission recommends approval. Are there any questions?
So the county engineer indicated that there's a high water table in the area and some concerns over making sure the road is constructed such that we don't have long-term maintenance issues. Is that built into the conditions of approval, or do we need to?
That's it. That's the condition that he has in his letter, so it would need to be met and required and addressed prior to the final plat and before that's all signed off. So obviously it's partially under construction now, but they are working on those elements and bringing in the appropriate amount of fill and the fill material so that that road is going to be substantiated and substantial.
The other construction's on the previously approved phase, right?
Correct.
It's probably
This is
similar.
continuation.
I thought they had already gone and started some of that.
They've started some of those elements and the water lines and things like that with the water district, but
Lance, do you know if they did a geotech report to tell us what the section needs to be in that area?
yeah,
Of roadway?
they did a geologic hazards report, so we have all that information. And obviously that includes the geotechnical elements. And yeah, county engineers out there on a regular basis examining that construction, working with that contractor to get it done right.
So as far as the commercial stuff that will go in there, do you have any clue what it might be?
They haven't said anything to me about what those uses are, so.
Can you just bring up the layout real quick?
Sure. I'm gonna do that. Canyon View Commercial is here, the road studs right now, will continue on. This will be the new interchange that UDOT is reviewing right now. And they have conceptually approved it. And you'll see these lots here along Highway Road. Lot 9 has a substantial amount of wetlands on it currently. They're doing studies on that to see if that boundary is correct.
What's parcel A intended to be? Just a well protection?
It is the, that's actually owned by the water district for the well.
So that well protection then, it goes into the street, is that okay?
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. Mountain Green Subdivision Water Association, since it's the well. The drain system for the street, curb gutter and all that will not allow infiltration of, road contaminants or things like that.
Okay.
Don't push it.
Okay, that's my biggest worry, is whether or not any of that contaminants, I know there's a mechanic going in there, mechanic shop, somewhere along in phase 1. And so I'm just worried about, is it gonna drain into that? Are they taking care of that? Is that part of the conditions or what?
Well, that would all, each of these lots has its own drainage requirements and for this overall subdivision. But when you get into specific uses like that, they will have to have their own systems to prevent and address those, any particular issues.
so do they have their own sewage? I mean, it's sewage is going into the Mountain Green Sewer District, but what about the storm drain and any of that kind of stuff? Have they got that taken care of, or is that part of it? Do we have to make sure they do it?
Yeah, no, that's part of the overall subdivision and,
Okay.
improvements that are going on there,
All right,
detention areas and whatnot.
okay. Engineer knows more than me.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the Canyon View Commercial West preliminary plat, application number 21.016, allowing for a 9-lot subdivision of land located at approximately 5600 West Old Highway Road, based upon the findings and with the conditions listed in the staff report dated January 4th, 2022.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second. You can second it this time.
Second.
Okay, we have
There's
a
only four
motion
of us here.
by Commissioner McConnell to approve the Canyon View Commercial West preliminary plat, seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Any comments on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, Mr. Souza, Airport Infrastructure Project status update.
Committee.
Do you need this copy? No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm George Souza, the chairman of the Airport Advisory Board, and we've got some items there that you can follow along with me. We met with the engineers on December 28th. Commissioner Anderson was there, Attorney Smith was there, and I was there. And it was a long discussion. I'm not going to discuss that first sub-bullet there, but I will say that there was no approval of the bid book that went out that did not have the GG. One thing that also came out of that meeting, which I had actually said before, was the 3444 for the curb stop valves with box and lid. That's part of the water laterals, I believe. And then I believe we decided, we asked that the engineers would provide a full cost update. Commissioner Anderson did this. And I don't know if you've received that yet.
I have not.
And you were going to make a recommendation to the other commissioners, and I don't know anything about that. At some point, perhaps that will come up in the discussion. Did you want to add anything right now to what?
Yeah, I'd love to give just a little background, because I wanted to get an email out to you commissioners, but as George mentioned, I was supposed to get an email from Wasatch Civil on the total amount of work they've done. I think I first of all want to tell George that I appreciate the work he's done. In discussing this and seeing all the work that has happened on a weekly basis and all the time that he's taken to do it, it's very much appreciated. We don't have George under contract to do this project management, and that is something that's it's great and awesome when it happens. And at the same time, when our county attorney and I are sitting down with George and kind of drilling him on some things, George is basically saying, "Hey, I'm just helping here," and but he's done this so well that he presents as if he's done this multiple times and many times and done a phenomenal job. The comment, I think it's more of an overall comment that I want to make sure we include, and I had discussed this with Commissioner, I'm trying to think now if it was either Wilson or Newton. Did I have this conversation?
We did discuss this.
It was with you, Commissioner
Yeah,
Newton.
with me too.
Did I?
So, yeah.
The main thought process we have is we've basically, George, Joe, has basically gone through this process and said, it is a county facility. Airport's a county facility. And they've come out and been able to figure out a mechanism and a way to get 95% of the dollars to pay for all these upgrades. And we need about 5% more to get there, to get to the finish line. So I know George focuses on every detail that he goes through every week, and that's appreciated. I want to make sure that we keep in mind that it's a county facility, and we've had basically a mechanism come in and say, we've come up with 95% of $400,000. County, can you come up with 5%? There's different things that we're finding that it's $1,000 here and there of increase that was unforeseen. That's what contingency is for on every project. You always see a contingency of usually about 10%. So these items that we're seeing would actually be within a standard contingency. And so I was meaning to get this email out, and I still haven't got it yet from Wasatch Civil, so it'll be coming forth. But the thought process I had after talking with George and with our county attorney is let's get a contingency amount where George isn't having to come back and forth every time there's a little change in this project, because I believe a couple more will come. We don't know what they are yet. So, but get a amount of contingency in there to be able to get this project to the finish line. So those are my thoughts.
Did Mark Miller participate in that discussion?
No, Matt Murdoch and John Beauregard were both there.
So is there any concession from him?
A consensus of what?
Concession.
Concession to what?
For Wasatch
Well,
Civil.
I thought we were going to talk to them about bringing their price down a little bit for screwing up.
There's a lot to debate here, or discuss, maybe not debate. Technically, we did not have Wasatch Civil under contract to do the design work, the increase or the added design work from what they understood originally. What we wanted to do is to go back to say, okay, what were you originally under contract to do? So they brought a copy of that. They were under contract to add specifications to the existing drawings to make a construction packet. And that's, and we can go into details and exactly understand why or why not, but it was for $3,000. So that's all they were under contract to do, Commissioner Wilson. But they have done much more work outside of contract to get here. There's a couple items. There's added design work from what they understood was the original contract, and then there was also an easement, I believe, description that they provided to George. So it was more going back and forth on exactly what was defined in the contract and what was completed. So, but we definitely discussed with them what they need to do in the future as far as communicating correctly with the county on items that they're asked to do and how they're asked to do it. We also discussed, there was one thing I mentioned in last meeting, that a lot of times you'll see when a set of documents are done, it's actually sent to the owner, and the owner says, we've reviewed these and we approve them to put out to bid. And that, I don't want to say that didn't happen at all. There might have been conversations or phone calls, I'm not sure, but we don't have an actual document or email that says we approve of these drawings and construction documents. Please put them out to bid. So I also recommended that to Wasatch Civil, that needs to happen. Again, it was not a mistake in design. It was not a poor design. It was just not an added design that would have been included regardless, and the prices would have been included if it was in that original packet. Did I explain that correctly, George, or anything I missed there?
I would offer some counterpoints, but maybe that's not appropriate right here. We never approved the bid book that went out. Nobody approved it. We had been talking about, and you saw nothing, and we didn't record our conversations, but Joe and I had been talking about the GG row for quite a few months. The $3,000, it never referenced the diagram, to my knowledge. It happened to come out about the same time that they produced a diagram that didn't include the GG row, and immediately after that, that's when I said, hey, we're probably going to add a GG row. And so there was, like I said, I mentioned it several times in my emails, and then the one prior to the last bid book, I said, hey, the first bid book, and you got the quote right there. The GG row was missing, and I thought they should have put it in there. I never approved what came out after that.
Yeah, and I don't think any of that's
And-
contrary, George. I think all
Yeah.
that is in line.
And part of it
Okay,
is,
if we're saying the same thing.
yeah, and part of it that we realize is George doesn't have the authority necessarily. He's not a county employee or wasn't designated specifically to run the bid. I mean, I guess somewhat, no apparent or actual authority was given, to my knowledge. It was more of just a discussion and thanks for the report and, thanks for moving this forward. And then also it just goes back to the communication and putting it in writing. And that was something that we stressed heavily is any work that's going to be done, let's memorialize that in an agreement and outline what needs to happen, because as the quote right there, current plan is to have a GG row of hangars. And that one's from August 11th. Anyway, there's a few that were mentioning the GG row, and the way that Wasatch Civil was understanding that was not the laterals necessarily, but the road between it, which they did bid. They just didn't bid the laterals. And so there were some miscommunications back and forth of what that actually meant. And there just needs to be clear communication, and I think a simple agreement to memorialize that would get everyone on the same page. And I'm happy to facilitate those.
Commissioner Wilson, did that answer your question?
It did, yes.
Okay, so shall we move on to the next bullet there on my sheet? Reviewing the funds and the leases collected. Almost all of them are in. I'll let Joe cover the checks, but I think they're all in except for one. Eureka. And
Post office right now, so Zach's planning on picking that up tomorrow. Then we should be 13 out of 13 of leases and money.
so we're collecting the money that we thought we were. There's been the one fallout at GG2, GG3 moved up to GG2, and I took the first guy off the waiting list and put him on GG3. The only pending left.
So they're basically all gone,
Yes,
all sites? Okay.
and we still have 5 or 6 guys on the waiting list.
Okay.
So,
One more added today.
okay, 6 or 7.
And no more space. Where are you gonna put them?
The horse barn.
That's right. That's what I was thinking about, that horse barn. That one on that 3-acre piece. Yep, I agree.
That's not one of our facilities.
It will become.
That's not
It
one of our
actually is our
facilities.
facility. We just don't have anything built on it yet. But I'm sure the people in Mountain Green would love to have a horse corral and a horse barn down there for the same price.
At the
I know.
airport or somewhere else?
Huh?
At the airport or somewhere else?
Yeah, right there on the 3-acre piece on the other side of the GG road. That 3-acre one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one up there in the trees and on the berm and everything. I'm just kidding with you.
I say, I know one person in Mountain Green that doesn't want to see it.
Somebody who lives
You're
close
starting
by
to come
there.
around the bend.
Okay, Mr. Sousa, go ahead.
Okay, so there's no response to the payment plan for DD 5 and 6. So I emailed them 3 weeks ago. I said, hey, how about we split it up into 3 equal payments? This is just a suggestion. What do you think? I've got nothing back from those guys yet. And I haven't followed up because I'm not sure how you want to continue with me being involved with this project. So I'll get to that at the end. Okay, you've got a spreadsheet there that shows where we're at right now.
So you indicate the project management fee's been removed, but Won't we still require a project manager?
Yeah, I didn't know what George was gonna say fully, wanted to let him give his presentation first, but that's an option that I think we need to either approve or not approve. But that's what I was also gonna get in an email, is the importance of that project, or, well, I would say construction management, and why we would need that, so.
So maybe once you hear from them, you can update us and
Yeah.
include that.
Yep.
Okay, so, anything in red is new. The engineers added the $19,200 on the 20th, and then, on the 28th, they mentioned the $3,400. So all that is included there. On the back of the spreadsheet is their change order, which has the numbers correct. And the second page actually shows what's missing from the first page, which is a description of modifying bid item number 21. You don't have the attachment page. I haven't responded to them. I forwarded this to Commissioner Henderson. But I think maybe the description should be included on the first page as well as the back page. But we do have the updated change order that has all the costs. Maybe it has to be modified a little bit, has to be signed, has to go to Wardell, and they'll, last word was they were gonna mark it down 5%. So that's something that we can look forward to help out a little bit. You noted the project management fee, I took that out. If we add that back in, that gives us more of a deficit down at the bottom. The Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District, we recomputed that, and so that's a savings of about $2,400. The Rocky Mountain Power electrical charges, that worked out great, Commissioner Bafro. They got on that right away, and there's no change, so the price is exactly the same. Dominion Energy, we expect to go up. He told me that no matter when you sign the contract, he has to recompute the cost January 1st, so I expect that to go up.
I'm sorry, we skipped over that pretty quickly, but I just want to put a plug in, because we thought that Rocky Mountain Power was going to also increase. I think last time you discussed it, you had that same discussion.
Yes.
So I also want to add a specific thanks to Commissioner Fackrell for stepping in there in whatever discussions with whoever you had it with,
Yes.
and to help those fees stay as they are. So thank you for.
I didn't
for
do
doing that.
anything other than, but I appreciate it. Other
Whatever
than
you
just
did, it worked.
contact somebody.
Take the credit.
That's all I did.
Yes, it
Thank
worked
you.
out great.
Good call.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, so you got the total cost there. The lease amounts, if we don't change it, it's $25,000 and $31,500, and that gives us a deficit of $98,08. However, I need to mention, because I don't know that we all knew about this before, it's not new information, it just, I don't know that everybody understood things. So if DD5 and DD6 don't pay their fair share, that deficit will be larger. If Dominion Energy costs go up significantly, that deficit will be larger. And if we add any program management or project management fees, that will add to that deficit. So,
When do you expect Dominion's bid?
I have not checked back with him. I asked him last month if he could do it then for January. He did not respond. So I'll follow up with him right away, presuming we continue forward with this.
Ken.
Trying to think who called me. It was either Rocky Mountain or Dominion asking for updated contact information, so maybe they're working on it.
So you are now the contact information on the contract with Rocky Mountain Power. I did notice that's a change. Maybe so maybe it's them that called you.
Okay. I can be the contact. I won't be able to sign it anymore, so.
Okay, well,
But I'll
Take care
work
of
to
that.
get it signed.
Okay, so that's the spreadsheet and the costs. Any questions on that?
I just have a question for Jared.
Yeah.
On the Wasatch Civil, how come I mean, is their fee gonna be based upon the fee that they normally charge us every time they do any kind of engineering work for us?
Yeah, what they should have, and I was gonna look that up in my response to all the commissioners, but what we should have under their contract is, it should be for the contract and county engineer, and then they should have a schedule of rates, where if we say, hey, we need this or that, then we can, they'll give us an estimate, but we can easily see what the cost would be for using those individuals on an hourly basis.
So it would basically be what they normally charge us as a, I mean, because it's our airport
Yeah,
and it's a county project.
correct.
So they're not going above and beyond and saying, this is gonna cost you more because we're an independent from
No.
this. It's basically what we have to pay them anyway for all of the work they do.
Correct.
Okay?
Let me back up a bit before I move on. So the 16,000 came out at the same time as 5%. So I had both John and Matt on the phone, and Matt said they normally charge 8 to 10%, but in this case they were going to charge 5%. And then he looked at John, and well, I couldn't tell that he was looking at John, but he referred to John, and John said 16,000. 5% and 16,000 are not the same in this case. So I'm not really sure which it is, but that's part of the communication problem that I sometimes have with those guys. I'll have to verify that.
Well, again, an agreement. We have an agreement, we go back and forth on what's being done, you bring it before the commissioners, we say yes or no on what that agreement states they'll do. So,
Okay. Let's see.
I just want to make sure, Leslie, that we get this, when Wasatch Civil is doing this, that it's all under the airport, so that way in future years, all the revenue we receive from them, it basically comes out of that. Okay.
So it's actually less than 5%, from,
The 16,000.
yeah, the 16,000. The 5% would
would be
be
20.
just under 18,000.
Yeah.
So they're giving even a
A
bigger
discount on that.
If that's the one that they're actually using. If it's 5% instead, it's gonna be 18,000. So we need to look at the
Total cost.
Okay, so, Dominion Energy, we talked about, Rocky Mountain Power, the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District has been sent off. I believe Commissioner Anderson will be the one that reviews that. So, you got my email on that, I forwarded. Kent Wilkerson is resigning apparently, so he's the current manager of the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District. I'm not sure if that's his exact title, but somebody else will be replacing him. So the ball kind of got dropped because he was going to resign, apparently, and it just got passed on recently, so the information is just on its way out, and hopefully we have a copy of it.
that's right, that's great.
That's the 5%
Okay,
So
the plat from Wasatch Civil still needs an engineer stamp. Commissioner Anderson, you probably will want to know about this. The plat does not have an engineer stamp, and according to Kent Wilkerson, it has to have that stamp. So that's something that we'll have to also get from Wasatch Civil.
Correct.
The other thing I noticed about the plat, I don't know that it shows the additional road base that's required. That they added a cost for that road base on GG2, but the plat itself doesn't seem to show that. So I'll want somebody with expertise to also look at that. That's what I found, yes.
You're a commissioner, you can do it.
No, that's correct, and you gotta make sure, so the plat actually shows boundaries, easements, but that's not considered construction set of drawings, it's usually a plan or improvement plan, so. But yes, you're correct that needs to be on there. If it says final plat though, typically the plat does not have improvements to the subdivision. It has the actual line work and the lots and the easements on that property, so.
Okay, all right. Okay, tasks and meeting accomplishment. We have the change order. It includes the latest 3444, but not the description. So we need the description put in, and then it needs to go to Wardell for a final at this time. Or I suppose we could sign the current one and do another one later. I don't recommend that. I recommend doing it fixed.
What's the 3444 here?
That was for curb stop valves with box and lid.
Okay, but that's not included in the change order, you say?
It's on the attachment on the back side, which we don't have a copy of,
Okay,
and I didn't see until today.
but it's not in the description on the front page, is what you're saying? Is the dollar amount included in this amount? Okay,
So the dollar amount is there. So that dollar amount is reflected in the spreadsheet as well.
Okay.
The very top of the spreadsheet. Okay. Proprietary plan integration. So we know about 9-line. Hopefully later this month they want to present to this commission as well their plan. Because of their plan, Wasatch Civil, the engineers have added a retention pond to the side of one of the pads that one of the guys wants to make wider. So Lynn Alley is the guy that wants to do this because he has gliders. He wants to make his hangar, which is FF3, he wants to make it 80 feet wide. So he has requested that. I have an email from him. And there's another individual at, opposite him at EE4, I believe it is. He wants to make his wider as well. I don't think there's a problem with his, but with the proprietary plan integration with what we're doing, there's a retention pond that interferes with Lynn Alley's desire to widen his at FF3. And he wants to go 80 feet wide. So,
is there potential to just swap around where the hangar locations are for some of these folks?
no, that's why he chose this pad, because it had the potential.
Gotcha.
There's more room
It's,
there.
okay,
So it just happened that the engineers put a retention pond in there when they developed the 9-line. It wasn't there before, so that's an issue that has to be resolved. The payment plan for DD 5 and 6, we need to resolve that. The Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District approvals and fee payment. I think we probably need the approvals before we start this project. I'm not certain of that, but I think that's the case. Okay, you're saying yes to that, okay. The Dominion Energy and the Rocky Mountain Power contracts need signatures and payments. We need to finalize the Wardell contract, and there needs to be a pre-construction meeting. And normally, Wasatch Civil, the engineers would set that up and conduct that meeting. Is my understanding. Questions so far?
Oh, let's get it done.
Commissioner Anderson, was that pre-construction meeting part of the discussion as terms of what they would?
Yeah,
cover?
I think, again, and I'll light a fire under Wasatch Civil to get that email to me, but once they get the email to me of the work they've done, I kind of want to grab all this that George has explained, get it in a nice, well-written email to you guys and say, okay, this is how I see it and how it could run and work. And, you know, one of the comments I have is I think there needs to be the ability, for example, on these sewer district fees for how will that financially work? How's the construction project going to financially work when, and maybe some of the leases are going to come in soon or later, you know, we don't know exactly when they're going to come in. If Wardell starts and they've started work for 30 days and then are asking an amount, I just want to make sure we've got all that set up and so that it's running smoothly for for George and for Joe.
I think
So-
Joe was saying the last of the leases should be here tomorrow.
Okay.
So
is
that
the total
includes a
amount-
check.
with that funding,
For each of
Has the
them.
total amount of money already been submitted or deposited, or?
Zach put it in a separate account for us.
Right,
for
right.
December, so we presented in 2022.
So yeah, to have all that just set up correctly, I think that's really what, and in that email, and I'll of course copy Joe and George on there, but I just want to make sure we have the contingency included and say, okay, this is the amount that would get us there. And then maybe next commission meeting, we can approve that amount, so.
So for this meeting, is there anything in particular that we need to approve? We've already done an approval on the original contract with Wardell. And we've approved the potential agreements with Dominion Energy, Rocky Mountain Power, Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District, knowing that those costs could fluctuate slightly. Is there anything that you need us to approve tonight in order to continue moving forward?
I need to know how you want to move forward. So that's, thank you for leading into the next subject there. So I've done all the coordinating so far. I'm perfectly happy to step back and let somebody else take it from here. It's a lot of work and it's very frustrating without the authority to have people react. So if you'd like me to continue, I ask that you consider making it a specific tasking for me, not just a volunteer position on the airport advisory board, because I need that authority so I can say, hey, this is a county assigned task, and I'm the guy that's assigned to do it. So react. Don't ignore my emails, because at times I feel like that's happening. I need a better understanding of my liabilities. Again, as a volunteer worker, I feel like I'm putting myself out there with very little protection from lawsuits or otherwise. So I would like to understand my liabilities. And it may even mean making me a county employee for some small amount. And I threw out a number of $500. I don't care how much. That's probably too little for the amount of work I'm doing, but because I threw it out, I would honor that. I think the county should consider something like that as a liability protection for me. And then the third thing is I need to have somebody that I can rely on for expertise. And if that's Commissioner Anderson, that's great. If it's somebody else, that's great also. So that is what I would like resolved tonight. How do we want to go forward with this?
So Commissioner McConnell, the airport is your portfolio assignment, and Commissioner Anderson, you've been dealing most recently with the engineering side of that. My suggestion would be perhaps the two of you get together, discuss that, determine how you'd like to move forward. I don't have a preference either way. Personally, I think we just need to come up with a plan, and maybe that's handing most of it off to the engineering company to really handle the project management from here on out. I don't know.
I agree, and I don't know if we could make the final decision, and not to go against what you're asking, George, but I'm not sure we could make it tonight, but
yeah, if
we
you
can definitely discuss that.
Get the information from Wasatch Civil, particularly with respect to what they're gonna do and what's put into their project management, then we can evaluate what further we would need on the county side, whether that's you and I working with George and Joe, or if that's pretty much just the construction element. I don't have any engineering expertise at all, so looking at plans like that, I do it occasionally, but it's not for any kind of expert review. It's to try to figure out what's being done.
So George, I'll get with Commissioner McConnell the next couple days, and we'll discuss what we need to do moving forward, what we want to do moving forward. And hopefully by then I've also received the Wasatch Civil email, and then can get that email out to the rest of the commissioners.
Okay. One last thing I should add is Wardell contacted me yesterday. They're ready to start. They have crews available. So the sooner we can get get them started.
Okay.
Started
Good.
tomorrow.
I think just one final note that I'll make is, I think the consensus based on the discussions we've had in our last meeting and what I'm hearing this meeting is that we want to move forward with the project. There's not an intention of stopping the project at this point because the costs have gone slightly more than what we anticipated. And correct me if I'm wrong, commissioners, but I think that's the consensus and we should proceed with that in mind.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I want to give you that reassurance because I feel like that's been part of the back and forth, like, are we doing this, are we not? That kind of thing. So it sounds like we've got the funding in place now. The vast majority, like you mentioned, 95% or so of the funding is in our hands.
And the rest of it's gonna be recouped over the next few years.
Correct.
So I'm not too worried. And you've taken care of my pet peeves.
Awesome.
Thank you, George.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 5, Mr. Pitcher, request to amend County Code 8-12-46B 1, which conflicts with B2.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on past items that were already up, but I just wanted to point out from item number 3, the county code, Mr. Fackrell asked about the well protection zone, and county code actually doesn't allow wells in public. It actually says, well protection areas shall not include any portion of public or private streets. So that just might be something you guys want to look into when they actually do the final plat. So, onto my agenda item, I think, I don't know if you guys got the 5-page document that was submitted with the request to be on the agenda. Was that included in your packet?
Yes.
So there's not a lot more to say than that. I feel like it was inclusive and self-explanatory. I don't even technically know if public can request an amendment to code. I've never been through this code before.
So I allowed it to be on the agenda as the commission chair, but when the packet was submitted, you certainly are allowed to request a zoning text amendment, but you have to file an application for the zoning text amendment, and it has to be, we can't vote on a zoning text amendment unless it comes to us with a either positive or negative recommendation from the planning commission. So you can't just bring it directly to the county commission for consideration.
Okay. And
I did read through it, and there are a few points in there that I think warrant clarification in the code. But under state law, we don't have the ability to vote on it unless there's a planning commission recommendation for any zone text change. There's a few different
that makes
items.
sense. Yeah, I've never gone through it where we've, annexations and that I've done. So, and I've just gone to the clerk to ask, and she wasn't clear on how to do it either. So, and I'm not 100% clear on what I'm being instructed to do. Do I put an application to county planning commission? And the clerk
No,
has a
you'd make
copy?
the application directly to the planning department, and then they'll put it on a planning commission agenda.
Okay, so the planning department will have some sort of, I guess, application.
They do have an application for zone text amendments,
Okay.
which is what you're asking for.
Yeah, I
is
get
a
that.
zone text
Okay,
amendment, yeah.
so I'll contact Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 6, Commissioner Wilson, Enterprise Fleet Management Open-End Equity Lease.
Are you there, Chase?
No, he might be online, I hope.
Yes, sir, I'm here. So, thank you, Commissioner. My name's Chase Rhodes with Enterprise Fleet Management. I apologize I couldn't be there in person this evening, but Commissioner Wilson and I have been working for quite a while on just some partnerships and things on helping with the county, refreshing some of their older vehicles. What we would like to have today is the signing of 3 replacement vehicles for the public works. I believe, do you have the quotes in front of you all currently?
Yes.
We do, it's in our packet.
Okay. So I know we've had a couple of discussions and things on this, but Matt, Commissioner Wilson asked that I, and Commissioner Fackrell asked that I be here to just answer any final questions, anything that anyone had before we sign to move forward and can place these orders.
I had two questions. The first is just wanted to confirm the number of units. Is it 3 or 4, Commissioner Wilson?
It's 3.
Okay, perfect. And then the other question I had is regarding the initial license fee that's listed on the list here on the agreement. Is that a licensing for the vehicle itself, like license plate licensing? Or what is that?
Correct. So on all the quotes, it has an average, like a registration, license plates, and things like that. So any type of paperwork, anything that would have to do with vehicles, we handle that process. And if there is cost, it's just set up as a pass-through on the quotes.
Okay, so typically, I don't believe we have registration fees because they are exempt vehicles, being government-owned. So I don't know.
And in which case, that is just disregarded.
Okay.
It's just standardized on the quote.
Perfect.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
So in this case as well, like the $200 courtesy delivery fee, I expect that to be not on the quote as well. But so you can realistically take off the 186 and the 200 on this quote.
Okay. Which really doesn't affect the monthly much, but.
Not much, no. You're
Okay.
correct.
And the gain on the other one, the $2,000, that's a positive $2,000, or it could be more or less?
Correct. So we put, so the gain applied for prior units. The vehicles that we are replacing, we have 3 2004 and 1 86. One of those I think they already sold. So the $2,000 is a placeholder for what we're going to be able to sell the replacement units for, which we can take that equity to lower the cost of these replacement vehicles. We're hoping and expect it to be a little bit more than 2,000, but again, I try to be as conservative as possible on the quotes.
Well, I would be too. I mean, they got 500 out of the last one.
Yeah, they're in pretty sorry shape. Okay, any other questions on the agreement?
And we plan on doing the full maintenance program, is that correct?
Correct.
I will agree with it.
Okay, so for clarification, what we're approving here is a total monthly cost per vehicle of $551.68. Given the current numbers, that could fluctuate by a few dollars based on those items that we just discussed. These vehicles are going to the Public Works Department, and the funding will be coming from Public Works, not from Fleet. So they'll actually take it out of the Public Works budget.
Is the contract miles, is that a per year figure?
That is, so first of all, there is no mileage restrictions on these leases. There's no wear and tear penalties, and you own all the equity. So the 18,000 miles there is just a estimated cost for the full maintenance program. On average, from what we were looking at these vehicles, we're averaging about 6,000 miles annually. So this being a 36-month term lease, hence the 18,000 miles over
Okay.
the term of the lease.
So that helps you determine the maintenance frequency is all that's for.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
and plus, according to your software and everything else, you'll take care of the vehicle within that 3 year if by chance it hits or comes close, so that way we can get it sold and get a new one with equity.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
We manage the process from start to finish, so I mean, we're the largest buyer and seller of vehicles in the world, so
Okay, any other questions or comments?
These are all funded out of the road department.
Correct. All three will be funded from the Road Public Works Department. And actually, I believe Brett's planning on funding them from B&C funds. Okay, with that, I'll take a motion on item number 6, Enterprise Fleet Management Open-End Equity Lease.
So,
Yeah, I'll move.
go ahead, you do it. You're better at it.
Three vehicles for the public works. Payments will be made out of the public works budget with enterprise.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the lease of 3 vehicles with funding to come from the Public Works budget. And a motion from Commissioner Wilson and a second from Commissioner McConnell. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chase.
Thanks for being on, Chase.
You bet. Did Commissioner McConnell or Commissioner Newton, we have both of you listed as signers on the previous credit and signer application, so if one of you are able to sign the quotes, that'd be great.
Do you have copies of those that we can
Is
sign
that
now?
what was in the packet?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I have a copy.
Okay, we'll get that signed tonight.
Great, thank you. And then if you can just scan it, or if I can pick it up, whatever's easiest, but
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, excellent. Item number 7, Commissioner Fackrell, appointment to Active Transportation Advisory Board.
Yeah, there were no other applicants. So I'm going to request that we put the ones on that I originally had, that's in your packet, and appoint them to the advisory board.
Okay, any questions for Commissioner Fackrell?
Nope.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Sure. President McConnell.
I'll make a motion that we appoint, are these Lily Allen?
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve, a motion to appoint Lilia Allen, Josh Bond, Nate Manwaring, Mike Loveland, Ron Niederhauser, Davey Ratchford,
Just,
the others as well?
yes, the other 3.
Justin Niederhauser, Scott McMillan, and is there?
And a member of the TTAB board. It'll be,
And a member of the TTAB board. Okay, as members of the Transportation Advisory Board.
the active transportation.
Oh, Active Transportation Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the proposed Active Transportation Advisory Board members as previously listed. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Commissioner Fackrell, back to you again here. Item number 8, approval of Carver, Floric, and James Financial Accounting Services to prepare financials for the 2021 audit.
Okay, this is the company we used last year, Carver, Floric, and James Financial Accounting Services. They did the books in preparation for the 2020 audit, and so I'm requesting that we use them again for the 2021 audit.
So I do have a question on this.
Mm-hmm.
So the letter that was attached,
That's for the second one. That's for the second part, which is number 9.
oh, okay,
It just got misconstrued.
okay.
So do we have an agreement that we need to sign on this, or are we just approving
That we go
continuation
in-
of the previous agreement?
Or that we do a new one. I don't know. I don't know your
Okay.
process normally.
We probably need to look and see what the terms of the agreement are, and then approve that.
Yeah.
So typically, they send a new audit letter every year.
Okay.
So I was just jumping the gun and getting it done. Because I don't want the audit to be late this year.
But I'm happy to make a motion to approve Carver, Floric, and James as the financial accounting services firm to prepare the audits for the 2021 year, subject to approval of an audit engagement letter.
Yeah. Are you on there, Jason or Alex? They're not there? Okay. I was hoping they would be there.
Commissioner
So-
Fackrell, do we know if these, are they under the state
Yes.
list? So, okay.
Oh, and we used them last year too.
This will be the third year.
Third year. Okay.
Yeah. So we do have a motion on the table. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a
Second.
second to approve Carver, Floric, and James Financial Accounting Services to prepare our financials for the 2021 audit, subject to approval of an audit engagement letter. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, Commissioner Fackrell, again, approval of Carver, Floric, and James Financial Accounting Services to assist on a monthly basis of a reconciliation of financial accounting for the county for the year 2022 in preparation of future financial audits.
Okay, so what I was, after Matt and I went through the audit, the auditors suggested that we have the accountants come and do the preparation on a normal basis. Every month is what they preferred, quarterly at the least. And they would like to have the accountants do this to prepare in advance, so that way they don't have to, in January of next year or February next year, they have to go back and ask Leslie, well, what was this for? What was that for? And so they suggested that we do it on a monthly basis. And the way I asked them about it, because they did it for us, they did the 2020 year for us, and what I was thinking on this method of doing it, by them doing this, it will actually cost, in the long run, it'll cost the county less, because they're keeping up to date on it, but their goal is not to do this year after year after year after year. Their goal is to teach our staff or our employees how to do it, so that way by the end of the year, of this year, and maybe a few months into the next year, that this will cover, that you will have learned all this stuff that needs to be done, so that way everything is in order and we can just turn it over to the auditors instead of having them do it. Come in and do it first and then give it to the auditors. So it's all in preparation, and yes, it will cost us more this year just because we're doing double. We're doing last year's 2021, and now we're going to do 2022's, but we're going to try to get this so that way we can end up having less cost over time. And that way our staff will be able to get everything prepared, and that will cut us out of having to spend $36,000 a year on the accounting services every year.
We'll still have to hire an auditor.
Yes, we still have to hire an auditor, but that way all the paperwork is all in preparation for the audit. The audit doesn't have to wait. They don't have to go and ask for different things, and it just will make this the process smoother. So currently what we spent this last year is approximately $80,000 on the two. And by doing this, according to what the accountants were saying and the auditors, we could almost cut our costs in half by 2023. So that's the reason for me bringing this up at this point, is just to help out in the auditing, and that way we can also get our audits done before June 30th, which is the deadline. But yet last year I understand we were actually some of the earliest we have done it, but it was still in October. And so I'd like to see us get it done by June 1st this year or next year. And so that's only my thought, is to hire them to do this. And in essence, it's going to help the whole county out as far as funding goes over the next few years, and hopefully into the future, until we get big enough to where we can hire our own accountant. So
in the past, we've used two different firms, one to
Right.
prepare monthly financial documents and then one for the auditing.
Right.
Sounds like you're suggesting we use one and the same to prepare both the financial documents and the audit documents?
They're gonna prepare the financial documents and anything needed for the audit,
Okay.
okay? And it's gonna cost us approximately, and their goal is not to stay and continue this. They don't want to continue it. They just want to help us get to the point to where we can say at the end of the year, okay, auditors, go ahead, come on up here, it's all ready, Morgan County's ready.
Commissioner Wilson, you're on the audit committee as well, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
What are your thoughts, where the two of you have overseen this over the last year? Do you have any comments to make?
So I guess the only comment is, do we need to send this out to bid? This being the amount of money it is, or?
Is that what the question of the state procurement contract?
Yeah, I think that was
If
the,
they are on that, that's an exception under our code to,
okay.
that doesn't require a bid.
So it sounds like there's no requirement for that, given that they're part of the state contract. I think the only question for me is there any benefit to having two different firms, you know, handle those pieces? I don't know if there is from an accounting perspective, because I'm not an accountant. And maybe there is some benefit in having one firm do it as well, because they already know what's been done and they're not duplicating efforts, but.
Okay, we're not duplicating two different outfits. We've got the audit. The auditors are completely separate. That's one of the state laws you have to do. They have to be completely separate than the accounting. And so the accounting is done by one company that if we choose that. We would be choosing that one accounting company to come up and get things in order. And maybe by July, they won't need to come up because Leslie's, brilliant and can handle everything. And so if at that point, that would be great. And that's what their goal is to wean us off of having to have an accountant. The audit is the biggest thing is I want to make sure that we have the audit done as early as possible. Then we know throughout the year whether or not we've been financially responsible. Because we don't know it.
So
So
based,
Leslie, is that something, you feel like you can handle?
I will take all the education I can get, but I don't,
You don't have a clue yet what you're
I don't know yet.
Yeah. So it's going to, in essence, it's going to help Leslie out. It's going to help her to be able to perform her job in the accounting area of the county. And they'll help her out monthly with all these different things that she said. I mean, it's like, for instance, I asked a question today to one of my departments, why are we having so many expenses under one single card to go into the same place? And so they can come in and help us, at least from what I gathered from our audit this year and the financials this year, is that if we go and take those, we can figure it out all right now in a month's time instead of 6 months from now or a year from now and say, Leslie, what happened that month? Why is things misplaced?
So, will we still have the accounting firm helping to prepare financials, and this is
No.
training of the staff? So that I think was the question you were asking. Does the accounting firm need to be separate from the firm that performs the audit?
Yes, they have to be separate from the firm
So-
that does the audit. The audit
So-
has to be a separate.
So we're gonna have Carver Floric do our audit of our 2021 financial?
No, we're gonna have
Well,
Carver.
that's what we approved in the last item.
No, that was to do the financial accounting. To prepare the financials
yeah,
for the audit.
2021 audit.
Yeah, the audit
Okay.
is gonna be done by, if we approve
Oh,
it.
by the same HBM. Okay,
Okay,
that
okay.
was my
So that
question.
was,
Are we
I
doing
just
the
didn't get
same
that on the
entity?
agenda,
Okay.
so that's gonna come up next week,
That
is to
makes
hire
sense.
them.
I just want to make sure we didn't have the same
Yeah.
accountant doing the
Yeah,
financials and
you
then
can't
auditing
have that.
himself.
You can't have
All
the,
right,
you
so
can't have
you've
that.
answered my question.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
And,
So,
and
I'm good
frankly,
with
my
that.
only concern was as to the amount. It seemed like, will it take them two people a
One
full
day.
day, a month to do it? I didn't think that was the case, but I understand it now in terms of the training and
Yeah.
so forth.
yeah, and so it may, he said in the beginning, it may It may be that it may cost us the first month $2,000. Next month it might be $1,600, because they don't need as much time. Because as you learn and you get everything prepared for it, then you've got it already monthly. You know, reconciliations between your department and the treasurer is basically what's going to happen. Because some of the things that they found out in the audit was that some of the reconciliations were not being done on a monthly basis or even on a quarterly basis. And so they were having to go back through and try to figure out things, and it would just be a lot smoother process if we were to do that this year instead of waiting till January next year and say, we need to have Carver, Floric, and James come in and do everything.
No, I agree 100%. In fact, we talked about this a few years ago, as I recall, because we had an accounting firm, it was not this one, hired to do the monthly financials, and they weren't doing that like we thought they were.
Yeah.
And then the end of the year came, we ended up having to bring in Carver, Floric, and James to basically redo it for the previous year.
Yeah.
So I understand now what you're saying and agree.
What happened a year ago? So
Yep.
they spent time trying to figure out what happened a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, with that, we'll take a motion for item number 9, approval of Carver, Floric, and James Financial Accounting Services to assist on a monthly basis for reconciliation of the financial accounting of the county for the 2022 year.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner McConnell and a second from Commissioner Fackrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay.
We have a little break.
Come on, I thought you had one at home.
We sure can do that. Why don't we break for 5 minutes?
Okay. I need it for here.
We have wall protection things that go into I can see what's before.
See, I met him down at UMass.
Okay.
We need to take that.
Commissioner Wilson, are you back where you can hear us?
Yeah.
I'm back, yeah.
Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and resume our meeting. We are on item number 10. Commissioner Fackrell and I, renewal of economic development agreement with Ebert Solutions for a period of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Commissioner Fackrell, do you want to take this one?
I don't care. Basically, I think you guys wanted to see the actual contract, and so we did. However, we have an adjustment to the contract that we'd like you to put in there, Garrett, if you would. And this is a request upon Jared and Mike. Well, I don't know if it was Mike or not, but it was Jared. That in this agreement that he needs to give us a weekly or bi-weekly written journal as to who he's talked to and what he has done.
So I would suggest adding that in under 1A as XI, Roman numeral XI.
Doesn't matter where you put it, just
Yep.
Sound okay?
And what I wrote for that, and we can tweak this if you want, but I wrote, provide a bi-weekly written report to the county commission of time spent on the various economic development projects and areas of focus. Does that
Yeah.
encompass everything that you envisioned?
Yeah, and not picking on Mr. Ebert individually, I just know that we've got some different comments from many individuals, those involved in economic development. Hey, what's going on? What's the work that's happening? And, you know, in talking with Commissioner Newton and Commissioner Fackrell, who's over this portfolio, you guys are meeting often, and here's all the things that are happening. So I think it'd just be a good update in general. We've actually talked about even expanding this thought process with others. But just to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Here's who, you know, and the hours I've spent and what I'm doing for you guys. And, you know, we did see, I think Anissa sent a document, I think James, you were copied on it just yesterday, today.
yeah, I sent it to
But
him.
man, it was a very good comprehensive list of all the work that you guys have been doing, so.
And I don't think that even was completely everything, because the last 2 months from when she sent it originally, or a month ago, there's been a lot more accomplished since.
Right.
The only comment I would say is we presently have a weekly economic development meeting, and what my request would be is if we could work through the commission on providing staff to provide minutes from that meeting, which is a full documentation of everything that we've done and we're working on. And then that document or those minutes are then sent to the commission, each individual commission member, so that they can see everything that we've talked about. That is a more comprehensive report because we have interaction back toward from the commissioners. There's assignments given, there's follow-up. So I think that would be probably the best mechanism we can use to document those meetings and then document the work that's being done and the individuals being contacted. Then we have also had some conversations about, you know, maybe using a CRM. That would be something that you could have access to whenever you wanted to. You could jump into the CRM, you could see what's going on. Somebody asks you about a project that we're working on. You jump in the CRM, you look up the project, you see the last contacts were made, who was contacted, their phone numbers. So if something happens to me, like the Bahamas call me too strongly, you have everything that you need and all the information, all the contacts there at your fingertips. So that would be what my request would be, is that somehow we could duplicate that into the contract, or we could just have that as an understanding.
So, my only question is to you is this journaling that you're gonna do, I mean, you tell us in our weekly meetings what you've done, but I'd like to know more specifics in that paper or in that document.
Yeah, and
I'd like to
I think
see
we can make
that.
up with the minutes in our economic development meeting being taken, which is where that report comes. What I don't want to do is I have 20 hours or 30 hours or whatever. I don't want to duplicate 3 hours of putting this report together to come and have the same exact conversation with you, then duplicating that. That's going to reduce my work hours. There's no reason for us to duplicate it if there's already a report being done and we're using the CRM to track. that seems like a duplication and a waste of man hours and service.
And I did have one more question on this, even though I read it I don't know when I read it, a while ago. Anyway, your contract, it talks about that you're gonna pay for all the travel.
So if there's travel that's associated that I choose to go onto, but if there's travel that's dictated by the commission, then I would put in a request through the CED board to go to that travel or training.
So what's considered that?
I don't
Because
know. We would it would come from the commission. The commission would say, I'd like you to go to this training.
So probably an example of that would
Excuse
be
me.
that we asked James to attend the UAC Economic Development meetings specifically.
But if I felt there was an important training I wanted to go to that has something to do with, something that I think you're experiencing, which would be project management, and there was a project management I felt like was important for me to go to, then I would pay for that.
Okay, that answers it. Sorry.
So, in terms of taking minutes at the meeting, Julie, are you available on Wednesday mornings?
So
No,
that's
that
a
would
different
be-
meeting.
That's a different meeting.
That's the
one on-
CED board meeting, and there's already somebody in place to do that.
Okay, so which meeting are we talking about?
Well, right now, we have a meeting scheduled on Wednesday afternoons,
At 5.
a weekly meeting. That could be changed. We've done it on Mondays in the afternoon at 4.
Yeah.
We've done it on
And we can
Wednesdays.
do it according to what you and I and James can do.
Yeah, I would
Because since
suggest
you're
you
over
figure
now,
that.
we can discuss when, and then we just need you there to be able to take care of.
And we could zoom in
Minutes
if
for us.
needed, if we don't actually have to have a physical presence.
Yeah, there may be some of these that would be easier for me to attend by Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done a number of them recently by Zoom. Yes, Commissioner Wilson.
So, James, you went to UAC, cost the county about $1,800.
That was for 2.
That was, well, Roberts was about the same, so I assume that's fine, right?
Yeah, and actually, that cost was actually for both James and Anissa. That wasn't just James. That was for Ebert Solutions, the whole 1,800. Correct?
Okay, and so I guess what my question is that was that worth going to for you, and why?
I think there was some value. There was the ability to connect. I know Anissa connected with several
Very
different
much so.
state agencies, including the Film Commission, and that has led to some of the work that she'd be doing with the Film Commission and doing some of the visits. I was able to connect back into WFRC. Also, there's a rural economic development team that's ran through UAC, and we're in the process. I'm actually in the process of working with several other economic developers to have that more of a dedicated part of UAC, and we're actually writing bylaws, and so that connectivity back into UAC, those economic developers. Also working back into the legislature on several other impacts to rural communities, and what's in the governor's budget the governor's budget this year, which is a expansion of the rural grant hopefully from about $5.5 million. They're going to ask for a lot more. They said they're going to ask for 100, but I bet you within the governor's budget it'll be probably about 40 or 50 million, which would really expand the dollars that are coming back into rural communities. And then also working through that organization to change how they're dictating the dollars are to be spent. And through the new governor, I think there's more of a understanding that each rural community and county has a much different need. Some need staff, some need infrastructure, and there's just so many different needs. One of the issues we're running into is many of the grants don't allow us to have dollars for engineering. So if we have a project we think we really want to move forward on, one of the first things we have to have in the grant process is good engineering specs, cost outlays, renderings. Well, that comes directly out of a budget, and if your budget doesn't have $30,000, $40,000 into it, how do you even start doing that application process? And so working with that group back into the state legislature to address some of these other needs. So I think there's a lot of connectivity to different organizations, Commissioner Wilson, that I think have value. I think Anissa can write something up talking about the value that she had, but Commissioner Fackrell was with her in many of those tourism and outdoor recreation meetings. And the report I got back was that they were very beneficial. Morgan County has, my last one really quickly because I don't want Lance to eat 2 cupcakes. I would just say that Morgan County has kind of withdrawn from some of the state partnerships, and through some of this training, specifically the UAC training, there's opportunity to start building those relationships again, and as you know in business many times, opportunities come from relationships because you learn about opportunities. And so I think there was tremendous value there. And then also time to really talk to the commissioners that were able to attend about opportunities coming up for rural communities, but also for the state as a whole. So if you want me to give you a more in-depth one, I can write something up and send it to the commission, or we can talk about it in our economic development meeting and then get it into the minutes. But that's off the top of my head.
No, that's thank you.
Can you give me your grid questions 2 days before you ask them?
Okay. Any other questions? I want to just throw out a couple of highlights from the agreement, just for the benefit of the commission and the public. This is really a continuation of our current agreement. The pricing will remain the same as we've currently been doing. Funding for this comes from the state rural economic development grant, so this is not tax dollars, this is grant funding from the state.
Right.
The real difference here is that we are separating the DMO from the economic development in terms of the contract itself. The agreement does still have a 30-day out clause for either party, so should James decide that the Bahamas are calling, he can tell us so long and go. And I think that's it. Any other comments, Commissioner Fackrell, in terms of the agreement?
No, there's a lot of things going in economic development right now. That were, of course, for those in the public that did not get to see the list of it, if you request it, I can go and send it to you, their accomplishments. But one of the things that we're working on right now is the Rural Grant Part B, which I think we requested $300,000, and of that $300,000 grant, it's going to help to bring in a potential convention event space. And a lot of it's being done at East Canyon, not resort, East Canyon Park. And we've also got another grant that we've been working on, which is with the Economic Development Agency of the United States government. And we can request up to $5 million if we want. And most of the matching funds could come from state dollars and not ARPA dollars, because they won't accept it with ARPA dollars. But we've got different projects that we're working on. The Weber River is a big, huge one that we're working on. And I've been working with Donna Little, that's what it used to be, Donna Kermy and Chris Haramoto and the whole TTAB board. And we're trying to get to where we can put in some kind of project on the Weber River. And so those are some of the things that are happening that you're now involved in, Robert.
and I'll just add really quickly, you're going to get tremendous pressure from the state for affordable housing.
Oh yeah.
And so affordable housing is going to be something, and as far as economic development, that's a component of it. Housing is a huge component. And so as the states gets closer to having more mandates, there'll be a tremendous amount of work, both on the private sector but in the public sector, and what that looks like and how it rolls out and what that actually means. Because affordable housing up here is not the same as affordable housing in Weber or Davis. So, we're putting together a little report really quickly that kind of, IBI is kind of putting the spearheading on it. It's really talking about the changes that have come in this last 18 months on your median income, on your housing prices, and all these things. And we all know that this next year inflation is going to hit us all pretty hard. And so all of those things are components of economic development, and how do we prepare the community and the county to be prepared to address it when it comes. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions?
So,
or comments?
given that discussion that just took place, I've amended Roman numeral 10 provide a weekly, so rather than a monthly progress report, we'll just say provide a weekly progress report on each of these areas to the county commission to be summarized in meeting minutes and distributed to the county commission. Is that sufficient?
Are those meetings weekly?
They are.
They are weekly.
Did you have a
I
comment?
would be careful saying on each of these items. I would say on work done or areas within scope, because there'll be weeks where there's something, a project that's not moving forward. So report every week to say, well, nothing's moving forward. I don't think makes a tremendous amount of sense. And I think that both commissioners really are focused in on things, and then we address those things along with everything else we did. So they're watching the items that we're working on for sure, if that's okay.
On a bi-weekly?
So, on work accomplished,
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the agreement as amended in tonight's meeting?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the renewal of the Economic Development Agreement with Ebert Solutions for a period of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, on the form discussed and with the modifications presented this evening.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the renewal of the Economic Development Agreement with Ebert Solutions with the changes from today's discussion. Motion by Commissioner McConnell, and a second by Commissioner Fackrell. Any comments on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Garrett Smith, approval of a consulting agreement between Morgan County and Stacy Netz Clark to provide consulting services as an independent contractor to assist the transition to our new clerk auditor.
Stacy's not here, but I was contacted to pull together an independent contractor agreement, and I don't know what discussions have already taken place, but it seemed like there was some indication that it would be helpful to Leslie to have Stacy help her through some of the items that come up at the beginning of the year. Is it mainly with the clerk or the auditor, Leslie? Do you know?
It's starting the new year, closing out 2021, and also some human resource payroll
Okay.
training.
So how much do you think it'll take?
I don't know. I mean, not a ton.
You're thinking hour-wise?
I don't have any idea. I haven't even thought about it.
So my computer shut down here, but my recollection is that the term was kind of evergreen, but I got comfortable with it because the scope is what we request.
Yep.
So, so I guess when we're done, we can, we just won't make, I guess it leaves it open to make requests from time to time. And I
Right.
guess what we would need to be careful of is just what requests are being made. So maybe,
And it could
maybe
be
40 hours, and then let us know if you think
Okay.
further time is that a reasonable approach?
Sure. Yeah, no problem with
Okay, and what's the funding source? Is that just gonna come out of
that. Out of the
clerk
clerk's
auditor budget? Well, that'll keep a
So
control on it as well.
there's going to be some savings where you haven't hired a deputy clerk auditor yet, so there should be funding there available to do that. And when you do, that person will likely be at a lower wage than the currently budgeted wage. Okay.
Why that amount?
I asked for an amount, what do you want me to put in there, and that was the amount, but I also looked at what her wage is right now. She won't be getting benefits, and she'll be paying all of her payroll taxes too, as self-employed as a 1099, so that's kind of compensates her what she's currently being compensated minus all the benefits and taking on all the tax liability.
My understanding was there was also a possibility of having her come back to talk about the personnel manual. And
Right.
is that true?
Well, so that could be included here because it says, consult with new Morgan County Clerk and County Commission regarding clerk, auditor, and other ancillary duties. And she was very involved in at least comments with the policies that we've been looking at accepting. And so my suggestion, if you want to move forward with this, would be to involve her in those work sessions so that she could explain her comments and be involved in that process, and we don't lose the time and effort, or the knowledge and effort that she's put into updating those policies as well.
So Garrett, is this like time on the premises, or is this, if I make a phone call like Robert does, it's an hour minimum, or how are you gonna keep track?
6-minute increments, that's how I look.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, 0.1 hours. So she has to invoice. That's in section 2.02. Contractors shall submit invoices on a bi-weekly basis. Each
Well,
invoice.
I realize she's got an invoice, I'm saying, how's that, what are she invoicing for? Time on the premises, if a phone call's made and a question's asked, how's that all gonna be done? How are you
So
tracking that?
each invoice must include a description of the services provided, the number of hours worked, and the amount of compensation due. So she has to describe an account for that time. There's nothing in the contract currently. We could add something in that says she has to be on the premises, but I don't know that would be necessary if it was
Seems inefficient. I mean, if
a phone
Leslie
call.
has a question and makes a call and it takes 20 minutes, then we should get billed for a third of an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to understand how it's all done. I just wonder that she's been training her for 25 years, so I hope it doesn't take too long.
I'm a slow learner.
Well, and just a comment I have on that thought process is, I also stepped in a position in the county, a department head position, and the individual who left, he left. I didn't have any training from him or any background from him, and when I did the same in my position, I told the person who took over my spot, call me anytime with questions. So I was concerned when I first saw this, shouldn't be that hard to answer the phone when Leslie calls and say, oh yeah, this is how you do it. I do like, though, the conversation we had of you've got a empty spot that you haven't filled yet, and you guys are very busy this time of year. So I guess that thought process I would actually agree with more, to say, hey, we have budgeted for a person in that position, but we don't have that person there. And if Stacy can help out for that time being, that makes more sense to me. I know when I initially saw this, I thought, well, I'll answer the phone for anybody that calls, and I won't bill you too much, but no, I was concerned that was the case, but it sounds like it's more really end of year, new year transition, and then possibly helping out for that vacancy that exists.
Well, I don't know that she's going to actually fill that vacancy that exists. I think it's more just coming in and helping you at year end, starting up the new, and then we've got to go in and change all the new wages before the new payroll. I'm going to need some help with that, but I really don't expect this is going to be a lot of time.
I think having a limit in the number of hours, like we discussed, maybe 40 hours, makes me a lot more comfortable as well,
Okay.
so that we kind of know. Now, if it gets to the end of that and you feel like we need more, then I think we ought to have that conversation.
I wasn't suggesting that as a total limit, but I just like, once you get there, let us know, and let's
Okay.
make sure. I just want, because I have the same concern, but I also don't begrudge someone for charging for consulting services to help bring it along.
Well, and
It seems
Emily
reasonable
from
to me.
Weaver County is also going to continue to help us through January, transition also, so I
Yeah.
think by February.
Yeah. I think, no, I agree, I think that works.
So my question, what do you do if you were a brand new elected official, not appointed, but elected official? You wanted the job. In January, you take over. And the other clerk says, see you later. Just like Stacy did when she got here. Who did she go and ask about? She didn't go back to she may have gone back to the last clerk and asked questions, but she went to the state trains her. You have all these different entities that are out there. She went to Weber County or she went to Davis County and was asking the auditor, or not the auditor, the clerk down there. He came up and spent days up here, according to a former employee, or not employee, but elected official that was here at that time. And, you've got all these different things. I'm just wondering, I'm of the opinion, when we got elected to this position, nobody stayed on to help any of us, including Garrett, who was appointed. And I'm just trying to figure out, is it necessary, or can you go to another office and say, how do we do this? Instead of us hiring somebody. Because people are out there willing to help if we have questions.
Well, couldn't it be a combination?
It could. I just don't want to spend a lot of money. And I think,
Well, at 40 hours, you're talking $1,800.
No.
I don't think we're talking excessive. I'm not going to.
Okay.
I would likewise encourage you to utilize every state available resource that's
I've had
that's
a lot of people
available to
reach
you.
out to me, offer trainings, but somebody's got to be in the office doing the work too, so.
Right.
It's.
Right. I'm just stating a fact.
But I think it would have been helpful for someone to stick around to help.
Oh yeah, it would have been great.
I mean, what the issue is, what happens is you make mistakes, and if Stacy's available to help prevent some of those mistakes from being made for what I would consider a nominal sum, particularly given the absence of a deputy clerk, then I think we take advantage of it. I don't think it's a long-term thing. I don't,
Well, and honestly, this came from me because she said, call me anytime. I'll come and help you. I don't think she should have to do it for free.
Why not?
I'm sorry, I don't think that's
we
fair.
all do this for free.
she's perfectly. No, I get paid.
I don't.
It's not my typical hourly rate, but I get paid.
Taking his bill.
It's not much, but it's paid.
And to the extent that Stacy wants to not report time and charge us for it, she's free to do it. Yeah, I just don't.
Okay, that's fine.
That's my view.
This didn't come from her, this came from me.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the consulting agreement between Morgan County and Stacy Netz Clerk to provide consulting services as an independent contractor to assist the transition to our new clerk auditor pursuant to the form included in our packet.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner McConnell to approve a consulting agreement between Morgan County and Stacy Netz Clark to provide consulting services as an independent contractor to assist with the transition to our new clerk auditor. Motion by Commissioner McConnell and a second from Commissioner Wilson. Any comments on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, number 12. Garrett, approval of 3 partial development agreement assignments among Staker, CW, CW Rome, and RAH.
All right, and Greg Day is here as well, which he can provide some more background information if needed. I've been working with Tony Hill, who is one of the attorneys that prepared these agreements. We went back and forth and had discussions over the phone as well to kind of just make sure everything was what I thought was approved in a state of approval for the county. But really what it is there's Staker Parson is the developer, and so it's an assignment of certain property to CW and CW Rome, and then also to RAH, which is Richmond American Homes of Utah. And so it's basically between the original developer, CW, and now Homes, is that the realtors, or Greg, who's Richmond American Homes? I can't remember.
They're the single-family developer, aren't they?
Builder
Yeah,
out of
single
Colorado.
family. That's what it is.
You know them,
Yeah, I've done contracts there before.
They're one of the largest in the
So I
country.
think that's basically what it is. It defines what parcels, and it's specific to the single family.
So,
Right.
yeah, the only thing everything was called the 2021 property in both assignments, and you had a legal description, but if we have do you have like a depiction so we could say which part's going to Richmond and which part is going to yours?
I don't have a map with
So are you
me.
doing the townhomes?
Yes, so the way it
And are they
works is-
taking all of the single family?
That's correct. We have two partners on it. Staker Parsons, they were owner of the property, the development agreement was approved, so they signed it. We now purchase part of the property, so it comes to us, and then we have a builder partner for the single-family homes, which is Richmond American Homes, and we have a builder partner for the townhomes. And so it's simply taking those obligations and making sure they transfer to the particular parties. I'm not expert, a legal expert.
Who still has the commercial?
We still have it.
Okay.
We have a part of it in Staker, but we're gonna assume that.
So
we're really
I'm not
just
an expert at this either, Garrett, but or Greg, when this goes through this way, does it include development agreement, whatever was included in everything we've discussed for the past year or so and getting this development to where it's at, it is moved and transferred also, so they know
They're
when they're aware?
assuming all of those
Okay.
rights and obligations.
The other significant point from my perspective was that they eliminate the possibility of a cross default between the two sections. So if CW land doesn't perform, we can't hold up Richmond and vice versa.
Okay.
Which,
Okay.
from my perspective, makes sense, but
Yes.
You're the expert.
there we go.
Yeah, so just really quickly, so CW Rome is the townhome portion and then the single family. So phase one is really just this. And then that's the CW, or that's the raw Richmond American Homes portion.
So that's the portion they would have, is just what you just showed us there. What about the other stuff up above?
This right here, this is CW and Staker.
Okay, so right now it's still CW.
That's correct. We retain all those rights and obligations.
Who's doing the parks?
So, well, let me back up. We are partnering with Richmond American Homes. We are performing and operating the development, so we have that obligation to do it for them. However, all the parts that are within this space would be delegated to Richmond American Homes or that assignment, and likewise, all the obligations are there.
Are you doing finished lots for them?
Yeah, we're doing, you're probably familiar with like a flow fund model, where we're contracted to provide them a finished lot.
Okay.
And so then they go in and they build it, or what? I don't understand all that.
Well, CW Land is going to, by contract, do their finished lots, which means, yeah, they're building the roads and the
Okay.
infrastructure, and they probably have to get the grade to within plus or minus 1.5 inches. And
It's not good.
Richmond's tough that way. And then Richmond will build the homes on it.
Oh, okay. So that means somebody can't buy a lot and build their own home.
That would be up to Richmond, but my
Oh,
understanding
okay.
is that's not what they're doing.
Okay, all right, just curious.
You'd probably pick from their list of potential floor plans and they'd build for you.
Okay. All right, I didn't know.
There's more and more of those national builders coming into the state.
So is it advantageous to do this versus you guys doing it all?
Yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons. I mean, from an operations standpoint, with the supply chain, it becomes very difficult, to have one sole operator. So you have the ability to get to more access to materials, labor pools. It, helps build it probably
the end product's probably more affordable.
Okay.
But I mean, there's pros and cons, I would guess.
Okay.
But I would say from the county's perspective, there's no benefit or not to doing this, because all they're really doing is saying we're assigning this development agreement that we've already agreed to different parties.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So, I'm just curious right now, it's off the subject. Is this gonna be some affordable homes? Or do we know?
They're
Is there an affordable home in Morgan?
I mean, because right now we have nothing in Morgan County, other than potentially this.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, they're not gonna be affordable in terms of a HUD or sort of
Right.
Section 8 housing or that type of definition. But I bet they'll be, you know, more affordable than some of the existing housing stock within the county.
Okay. All right.
I wish I could tell you a price, but the cost of windows changes every day.
Yeah, I
And lumber
know.
just went down, and lumber was up 6 months ago, and so it's, we internally have really struggled to get pricing.
They'll tell you a price when the paint's dry.
Yeah,
I was
I
gonna
know.
say, my
a lot of them
recent
move too. It's really difficult.
Yeah.
recent purchase at Home Depot, lumber's gone back up a little bit again.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious.
Okay, any other questions on item number 10? If not, I'll look for a motion.
How do you say it?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve 3 partial development agreement assignments among Staker, CW Rome, and Richmond American Homes.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the 3 partial development agreement assignments among Staker, CW Rome, and Richmond American Homes. Motion by Commissioner McConnell and second by Commissioner Fackrell. Any questions on the motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay. Item number 13, County Commission appointment to Weber Basin Conservation District.
So this is an item that we were moving forward on based on the last meeting, and then we discovered we didn't advertise, so we re-advertised it. Got in a couple of different applications, including one from Commissioner Anderson. And I had the other ones on my computer. I can't bring them up.
So we had Commissioner Anderson, Kip Adams, and there was a note that Dee Waldron and Randy Sessions also expressed interest. My understanding is we received letters from Commissioner Anderson and Kip Adams. Is that correct? Okay.
And we had verbal from the others.
And Dee Waldron was the one who initiated it originally.
And what we have to do is we have to submit, we're supposed to submit 3 names and have the, you know, we can state as the first one is our first preference and on down.
Okay.
Or however we want to word it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we've got 4 potential applicants. Any comments or motions here?
Well, you guys got my comments last night when I sent you the information. And, I mean, Jared's gone and said that he has time. I don't know how he has time. I used to work 3 jobs, 4 jobs to be able to make ends meet. And serving on different boards, it sometimes takes away from your family. So I'm just curious whether or not you really want to do something like this for now.
If I did not want to, I would not have submitted a letter of
Well,
interest.
However, you didn't know you were going to be vice chair either of the commission. So,
Yeah, if I didn't, I wouldn't have submitted a letter of interest if I wasn't interested in serving on the board, so.
because my only concern is time on everything.
Okay.
And and as I stated in my letter to you guys, basically, are we gonna make it a commission appointed, appointment, where it's a portfolio assignment, or is it going to be, you know, just individuals that are interested. Because I'm just worried about whether or not we're paying favoritisms to our comrade here,
I
or
think it should only be by a person who wants to.
to what?
Why would we force someone to have it as an assignment?
Well, I think the question is, should it be a portfolio assignment? And
Right.
my inclination would be no, because because the appointment can outlast the commission.
Right.
You know,
And it
as an
will in
elected
his
official.
case if we elect him or appoint him.
Right, assuming he doesn't.
Unless
run
he
again.
doesn't, unless he runs again, yeah,
So,
This is a 4-year term, is that correct?
that's correct.
I thought it was a 3-year.
It's a 4-year.
Oh, is it?
It's 4-year. Your term, yeah.
My term
the-
or the,
On the board is a 4-year
it's,
term.
which board?
The
Well, your
Weaver
notice says
Basin,
3 years.
okay.
Yeah,
I talked to him yesterday and it's a 4-year term.
okay.
It's a 4-year term.
It is a 4-year term, however, if you aren't reelected, Jared, I assume you can still continue to serve that last year.
Yes, he can.
yeah, he could.
He can, because they've got 2 commissioners from past that are serving on the board now.
Currently.
Currently that did not get reelected or decided not to get reelected. And so there are 2 former commissioners on there and 2 current commissioners on there. So there's a total of 9 on the board, and there's 5 that are private citizens. So, if we choose Jared or Kip or whoever we choose, it's just a commitment.
So ultimately, what we're doing is recommending to the governor.
Say, right?
Yeah, the governor, according to what, his name, the general manager of Weaver
Tad
Basin.
Flint, right?
Tad, yeah, that's right.
Tage.
Tage? Okay, I thought it started with a T, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, what he said is the governor will just go and whatever we submit, he will appoint. The governor will appoint whoever we recommend unless he sees a problem. And that's the only thing.
So we just need to turn in 3 names.
That's right.
Okay. Do we have a motion on who those 3 names will be? And it sounds like we should be putting those in order, is that correct?
Right.
Of our preference? Okay.
Based on what Blaine just said, I don't know if we should do that.
Not put them in order?
I think we're supposed to provide an
Yeah.
order.
Yeah, we should put them in the order of our preference. Or state sometime, something within our letter that we send to them with who our preference is. Or we just submit the names in alphabetical order and let him decide. Which Jared would still be first.
Adams comes before Anderson.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I'm gonna let you make that choice, Matt. Or Mike,
You're gonna
or
let me
Robert.
make what choice?
You guys decide how you wanna do it. I've given you my thoughts.
Matt, do you want to make a motion, or I will?
So we can eliminate.
Where did the 2 terms come in, Blaine, before I make the motion?
2 terms. What do you mean by 2
I
terms?
was under the impression that somebody had said something about, they like them to not serve more than 2 terms. Am I
That's-
just
that's
dreaming here?
No, that was actually what Tage, is that his name? Was mentioning that the governor does not like to normally keep them for more than 2 terms. But that does not necessarily mean that they would stop at that. If the governor says, if we by chance picked Dee Waldron to go for his third term. And if the governor says, well, he's already served more, or 2 terms, let's go to the second choice, then the governor would make that choice. Also, the other thing that happens with this is that then once the governor submitted it, it goes to the Senate, and the Senate then has to approve it. It's a long process.
Dee Waldron's the current president.
That's correct.
And he's been involved for a considerable period of time, and I know they're happy with the work and service that he's provided.
I really want to recuse myself because one of them's my relative, so I'd rather you, Robert, make the motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we appoint to the Weber Basin Water Conservation District Jared Anderson, Randy Sessions, Dee Waldron, in that order.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to nominate Jared Anderson, Randy Sessions, and Dee Waldron as potential members of the Weber Basin Water Board of Trustees. That nomination will go to the governor's office for approval. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Who seconded?
Sorry, Commissioner Fackrell. So the motion was
left.
from Commissioner McConnell, second from Commissioner Fackrell. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to our last item on the agenda, public hearing.
Before we move on,
Yes,
do you want me to communicate that to Paige Flint, or do you want to do that?
either way, you tell me. If you've already had conversations with him, go ahead and
conversation.
communicate it, that's okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Evans.
This is a code amendment initiated by you all to address the lot width issue on lots 1 acre and larger in size. The current code has that the lot width and the lot frontage, well, that there's a lot width and lot frontage would be the same, and that is created on large lots, 1 acre and larger, some unique, it takes away some flexibility for these lots. On smaller lots, as we've discussed, having a minimum lot width ensures that they fit together nicely, that they are big enough all the way. But when you get to 1 acre and larger size lots, that does not work as well, it's not as critical. The Planning Commission took your request, and we've had 2 meetings on it and worked through some of those items in the ordinance. They recommend approval of the changes that were proposed here today that's in the packet. And basically the minimum lot frontage would stay the same as it is currently in the code, but lot lines, the minimum lot width would be reduced to 70% of lot frontage is what we would say. This gives a little more flexibility. The Planning Commission had good discussions on, could we just, let go of lot width entirely, just drop it? There were some concerns that would, would lead to some, really odd-shaped lots, that it does serve a purpose. There was also a lot of concern about wellhead protection zones, keeping the wellhead protection zones entirely on the lot. That is technically currently in the code. And so, so what is added is a cross-reference to that. Let's see. And then they also added that, anyway, we took the lot width and frontage regulations tables and modified it, and took out a lot of language about lot width shall be the same as lot frontage, and add 70% in. And then in the subdivision ordinance under 81243 lots, we just added the language of the shape of the lots shall be generally perpendicular with the street and run radially away from the street. Odd-shaped lots will not be allowed. Of course, the question becomes, well, what's an odd-shaped lot? Some of you may have wondered that.
Some of us even asked.
Blaine did not like my response whatever I decide, so, but I think it's really just trying to get at it. It would have to be an extremely weird shaped lot to set off that red flag. Some lots are gonna have some weird shapes and whatnot, but the whole point of this ordinance is to keep it so we don't get dramatic things just to meet code. That punishes the county and it punishes the property owner, and there's no benefit in that. But we do wanna have some parameter on, if it's 5,000 feet long and 100 feet wide, well, okay, that's not okay. But when I feel that if we have enough with the frontage requirement and with the area requirement, it'd have to be an extreme situation to hit that, what an odd shaped lot is. Of course, you guys can.
So if that's the case, why do we want to say something about odd-shaped lots?
Yeah, that's what I.
Because just to have it a catch, I think, is where the planning commission was concerned that, well, let's at least have something in there that gives us some teeth to, some ability to go, look, that's, and I can't even think of the scenario. Blaine and I talked, and look, I mean, there's an an existing kind of almost hourglass shaped lot, off Kippen Lane. Hasn't hurt anything, it's been all right. Yeah, it's a little odd shaped, but it still works. Between,
Because what?
on these large lots, between the septic field, wells if necessary, wells may not always be the case, they might be on a water system, and then the area requirement. I don't know, we just wanted to have a little
So
bit.
I trust your judgment, Lance. What I don't trust is the next guy.
Yeah,
And I don't mean that in,
Right.
to,
Right.
well, it leaves me, it concerns me that this is so open to interpretation. I would prefer if we said something like, odd-shaped lots are generally discouraged, or something of that nature, so it will not be allowed, but maybe, and the whole reason this was brought up, and I need to say thank you to you, because I brought this up and asked you to look at this, I believe, in early November. The fact that it's back to us so quickly is awesome. Like, I commend you and your department and the planning commission for getting on this so quickly and taking care of it. I think that's fantastic, so thank you very, very much. But the reason this came about is because there's a lot in particular that I can think of, and there's been more than this, but the one I'm thinking of is odd-shaped due to the geography of the lot, right? There's a county road on one side, there's a ditch on the back side, and so the lot is triangular shaped, and it created an interesting situation. We probably have many lots like that. And really my intention in requesting this was to address those situations where the geography makes it such that it doesn't make sense to have a square lot or, a perfectly triangular, not triangular, but pie-shaped lot. So anyway, those are my thoughts, I guess, is if we can maybe tweak that language so that it's not completely restrictive, but does leave a little bit of interpretation where you could say, you don't really like this lot shape because it is so extreme, but we could still get you where you need to be by making this adjustment.
And that
I
basically.
mean, I know that still leaves it open to interpretation, so maybe it doesn't resolve this situation, but.
Well, and that was my same thought, where, you have a resident come in and your interpretation, you say it's too odd-shaped, and the resident says, well, I don't think it's too odd-shaped, and then what happens then? So,
Wait, it's just an avenue for appeal, but
That's what I was looking at.
lawsuit to me. I mean, look at those two rocks behind you. Those are odd shapes. If they were, I mean, given all the undulation of a rock, right? But if that's a 200-acre parcel, I don't care. You've got a building area. I'm assuming that the water surface is the road. Okay? They've got frontage. They're huge. You can put you can have your well protection zone, your sewer field, all of that on that 200 acres, and a motocross track in the back that your neighbors will complain about, and all of that is fine to me. But that's an incredibly odd shape, So I understand the sentiment, and it's not that I trust you, and you're I hope you're around as long as I'm around at least, so I don't expect anyone else to be making this decision, but a land use lawyer is just going to bring a claim if you deny someone on anything that's anywhere close to a reasonable possibility. And I'm wondering if there's language that we could come up with, you know, in terms of a lot shapes that don't permit, and then we identify what the objective issue is. That's an enforceable provision. I'd have to think about the language, which I probably should have done in advance.
Yeah, the main things, three main things I can think about is your septic, your well protection, and your actual building.
Yeah, your building envelope and your frontage requirement. I mean, that clearly is something that's important. But if we could come up with a discretionary test that was tied to some specific criteria, we have a much better chance of having that being an enforceable hook. Now, whether or not you want to delay to come up with that language, that's another issue. But.
Another thing, to go along with what he says, if I, say for instance, a radical person like me got on the planning commission or was in your position, it'd go back to the same thing. No, it says it right here, you cut and dry, you can't do anything. Yet I own that piece of ground. My biggest concern about the whole thing is that 100-foot radius around the well. If they're not in an improved area where the water comes directly from a hose, basically.
Well, that requirement's in there. So
Yeah,
that's very
okay.
different.
So even that hourglass one that we were talking about yesterday, that one there, yeah, I can see how that happened, and that 100-foot radius, I don't know how they got it for their well because I don't know where it is. There's not, yeah, I mean, going forward is what we need to worry about.
Go back and fix all that.
And so, you know, that's done. But if you came across another one like that, they'd still have to come up with that 100-foot radius no matter what. And they have to get approved for the septic no matter what, because the majority of our county is still septic and wells. And so, you know, we've got to, like I told you yesterday, I didn't like the wording, odd-shaped lots will not be allowed, period. You know, I don't think that's good. Because I own a lot of odd-shaped properties.
Yeah, and we pulled that, I think, really from another ordinance, another county, similar ordinance, but
Okay.
we looked at several different options. Certainly, I hear what you're saying.
Generally discouraged, I like that one. Is that enforceable?
Well, it's all enforceable until he makes a determination that it's odd, and somebody says, "Oh, under what criteria?" And then the judge asks us, "What criteria are you using to determine that it's odd?" And if we have no criteria articulated in the code, we lose.
Okay. So then what do we do?
Well, I think we identify criteria that we have a rational basis for imposing in terms of lot dimension and configuration. So much of this just happens by happenstance over time, right? This, at one point, these were all sections, and then the sections got divided, and then two brothers got together and had a fight, and they divided it in an odd way because somebody wanted access to the creek, you know, and then it just, and we have a lot of odd things that happen over time. When you're plotting a new single-family subdivision, yeah, that's a lot that that would be odd in a new single-family subdivision, but does it if that's the perimeter boundary at the far end, and it's the only way to fit in the last 1 acre, it's odd, hard to fence, but odd, you know? So anyway, I think if we could come up with some criteria as to what it is that we're really after in saying we don't want a particular type of lot, then it's better, or you just eliminate the requirement and say, no, what we require is frontage of, you know, meeting certain dimensions, building pads of certain dimensions, you know, we've got that in the code. So let me ask you, Lance, would you rather try to come up with some criteria or work with me to come up, and the planning commission to come up with criteria? Or would you rather just say, no, we don't need the provision?
Well,
Seems to me you want something.
I think I like are generally just, odd shaped lots are generally discouraged, puts it out there, look, hey, we need to try and do this, but without criteria, and I can't think of what criteria would it be? Number of sides? No. Length of one side over another? No.
Well, you've
The
kind of
way
got
they've all
criteria, I mean,
done is because of our minimum lot width requirement.
you're saying they should generally be perpendicular with the street. I mean, that, I think, is a criteria, right, we're trying to put in there. If we just remove that last sentence, maybe that's good enough. Or we could put, odd-shaped lots are generally discouraged and just leave it at that. And then it leaves you the ability, when somebody does come in with something really weird, you could say, we generally don't like this type of thing. Why don't we do it a little bit differently? And if they say absolutely not, well, maybe it's not that big a deal. Right?
When I guess
Always having a lawsuit.
the flip side of it too, kind of what Commissioner Newton is saying is, if they come in with a lot, they're gonna have to show you, no matter what the shape is, they're gonna have to show you how everything fits on there correctly, right? I mean, they're gonna have to show you that, so.
Criteria is gonna be met one way or the other, right? That's my suggestion, is we either remove or alter that last sentence, and I'm good with the rest of it.
I had a question. What brought all of it up?
Mike?
Mike?
I did.
Is your lot
It's
odd
not
shape?
it's not my lot. It's a neighbor who has done a subdivision, and Lance can tell you about this. Because the current code says that your lot width has to be the same at the front setback and the rear setback. And they were dividing a 2-acre parcel into 2 1-acre parcels. Well, the current parcel is a triangle.
Right.
It's
The
got
one-way
the road on the
apart.
front and the ditch on the back. You can't do anything different with that. And even if you could talk the neighbor behind the ditch into selling some, you wouldn't want to do that because you flood irrigate out of it. It's a problem. So the lot owner got very creative and drew a lot line between the two that met the criteria and still gave him the acreage in both. But it's
So the frontage was, and I can show you the picture. The reason I didn't show the picture tonight is it did not help with the planning commission. I
no,
don't think.
it honestly, it kind of looks ridiculous and it's unnecessary, and like you say, hard defense too, very hard defense.
And the result of natural topography.
And exactly, so
or a canal. I mean,
what else do you want them to do? Yeah, and that's the thing. And so that's why I think this is really necessary to do for those situations. Now, I understand if you're going to come in and build a new, if that big 200 acres, you're going to put 50 single-family homes in there. Well, trying to get more square or
Yeah, that's it.
that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But in these situations where the topography is already there, we're not going to change that. And so, anyway, that's what brought the whole thing up. And I think they've done a really good job at getting us to this point. We're really just looking at this one sentence, and I think if we can correct that, we've got a good product.
Even if you think about the commercial subdivision that we looked at tonight, that parcel A is an odd-shaped lot, and not many people have circle lots.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
odd.
Yeah.
And where is the frontage on that lot?
It's a parcel.
Parcel, okay. So,
It's a non-buildable parcel, which is
Non-buildable
what.
parcel, and I must say, it's not a
But
well
the two
functions
lots on
parcel.
either side of it are now odd shaped too, because they're big C's, right?
That's right.
Yeah, they have that.
Because they got a weird thing on them. So, anyway.
So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a solution to this?
Yeah, we changed that last sentence. Instead of saying odd shaped lots will not be allowed,
Gary
we say,
Ross, the planning commissioner chair, says repeatedly, what's the problem that we're trying to solve?
yeah. The problem we're trying to solve is not penalizing those who have strange topography.
And I would say on this odd-shaped lots, what's the problem we're trying to solve? Is there some lot out there that's causing a detriment to a property owner or the county?
not if it meets our minimum.
Not if they have the
Frontage
frontage
requirements,
and
acreage requirements, and
And
they could
the
put a
well.
building pad on there.
That's right.
To me, it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
They're just hard fence.
Agreed.
So in other words, we just do away with it,
With that last sentence.
with that last sentence.
Well, yeah, whatever you guys want to do.
So do we?
Or do you want to say are generally discouraged? Doesn't matter Does that give you any extra?
I think leaving it in that the lot should be radial from the street and generally perpendicular, and odd-shaped lots are discouraged.
So,
That gives
I
us a little,
see- I see.
it's not gonna ever stop somebody from doing it, but at least it's in there to provide a little bit of,
so radial from the street, does that allow cul-de-sac? Because those are always beat off.
That's right.
As
That's-
opposed to directly perpendicular.
yeah, so those will always, you're talking 1 acre lot cul-de-sacs. Yeah, those would be radial.
Would
I
they?
think what it's talking about is, I'm trying to think what would be radial. A really tight angle would be the problem.
I've got to look up at the definition of radial just a second. I want to make sure I'm getting this right.
Here, you want to use my computer?
Any other comments
I
on
mean,
this?
I just, you've heard it. I just,
I'm happy to leave it in there, generally discouraged.
yeah.
And if you wanted to come back with criteria later on, at least you have something
We could
there, and then
alter
we
it.
just amend the amendment.
Is that a motion?
So you've got this listed as a public hearing, do you actually need to?
Oh,
yeah.
I apologize.
I was trying to.
Okay, any other comments before we get to that point?
Okay, so radial is an adjective. Other arranged like rays of the radii of a circle, diverging in lines from a common center.
Like that
So does that
snowflake.
work for something that's directly perpendicular?
Uh-uh.
I guess it'd work for a cul-de-sac.
Because if you're looking at this, that's perfectly centered right there.
Remember, I'm a philosophy major, not math, so, and now you're talking geometry.
So here's this, and the radial is whatever here.
What I'm asking is the requirement that they be radial, can we go directly perpendicular off the street line? Are
Well,
we
and
using the right word?
If you had a triangular shaped lot, at one side, you're not perpendicular at all. You might be coming up to that.
So
you know.
let me just look at the language again. Generally perpendicular with the street and run radially away from the street.
To me,
So,
that almost sounds
where-
like they're describing a cul-de-sac.
Well, it's radial away from the street is the way I look at that. So you might have an angle, it might be one way or the other, but generally away, as opposed to
Following the street.
parallel to the street,
So you're diverging from the street. It's not,
away from the street.
you're diverging away from the street, but not in line from a common center. Okay.
It's 17 degrees or more, it's radial.
If you don't look at that anymore, are you good?
If it works for you, I'm not.
Okay, any other comments before we
Adjourn.
move to adjourn our public meeting and convene a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn the public meeting and convene a public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Matt's asleep.
Okay, we are now in public hearing. Seeing no comments.
I move that we adjourn public hearing and reconvene the public meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Fackrell to adjourn the public hearing and convene the public meeting, and a second by Commissioner McConnell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We are back in our public meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed amendment to the Morgan County Code, Section 8-5A-5, width and frontage regulations, amending the width requirement in the RR1 and larger zones and the establishment of lot shape requirements to Morgan County 8-12-43M, but modifying the language with respect to odd-shaped lots to indicate that they are generally discouraged, as opposed to the language.
As opposed to odd-shaped lots will not be allowed.
As opposed to odd-shaped lots will not be allowed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner McConnell, second by Commissioner Anderson, to approve a proposed amendment to Morgan County Code Section 8-5A-5 width and frontage regulations, amending the width requirement in the RR1 and larger zones and the establishment of lot-shaped requirements to Morgan County Code 8-12-43M with the adjustment discussed in the meeting regarding odd-shaped lots.
Clarify though.
You, on that shape of lots, it says shape of lots, lot lines shall be generally perpendicular. You're okay with the shall there?
Yeah,
Shall generally is kind of a contradiction, but that's fine.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Okay, any comments on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Wilson, do you have any comments?
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
There's been a lot of work this week, but no, I currently don't have any comments.
Okay, Commissioner Fackrell.
I don't, I've already commented enough.
Commissioner McConnell.
I got a call from the Lieutenant Governor's office today, and the Lieutenant Governor would like to come and visit us in our fine county on January 26th. I told him I would raise that with the commission. I don't want to have that happen if there aren't people that can attend. She's talking about being here like a 9 to 3 time frame.
I can be with him.
Okay.
I mean, whatever I need to do. I'm the only one available for anything.
Well, I'll try. I'm going to try to put it on my calendar as well.
Or if you
That's a
want-
Wednesday, it looks like.
Yeah, I'll be out of town that day.
I can,
Be there.
yeah, I can be available. I mean, I'm assuming she doesn't want to meet that entire time period.
Yeah.
Well, she may want to meet with different representatives, county department heads and so forth. We might want to think about where we might want to take her in the county to just see generally,
Okay.
bit of a tour.
Good idea.
I'll work with her staff to kind of come up with or they were calling the commission chair, so maybe you should work with her. I'll tell them that I was disowned today, and now that I was relieved of my position as chair, and if they want to work, I'm happy to coordinate it, but if not, they may be calling me.
Okay, that's totally fine.
I got an email from the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District saying, where are we at on the funding? They understood that we approved $100,000, but that we would consider additional funding. So I think that they're going to continue to make a request for more. And I guess we can consider that in connection with ARPA funding, but I just wanted to.
How much more do they want?
As much as they can get. It was essentially the tenor of
I
it.
was gonna say, last time they asked for $500,000 when they came to our meeting. We had discussed 300,000 with them on the phone. They asked for $500,000, and then they came back after that meeting and asked for 1.5 million via email. So
Didn't they get some funding from?
sounds like they got some grant.
They almost
or,
got 4
From,
million.
yeah, they
Yeah.
did 3.
3 million?
But they're trying to raise.
It's a total of about 9, I thought.
I think your first comment was correct. They're just trying to get as much as they can. The more money they can get for those residents, the lower the fee they pay, so. It's just, they're just doing their best they can to get as much money as they can, so.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to do a revenue bond for the remaining amount, whatever they aren't able to cover.
Correct. I think we need to do a new appointment for the Weber Morgan County Health Department.
That's right.
Is that something that we need to send out a notice again and see if there are people that want to participate or be involved or be?
I was under the impression we did the notice at the same time that,
Had several people want to.
What's that?
We had several people want to.
Have we already done the notice?
I don't think we've done the notice. I thought we were going to do it.
I thought we were gonna do it when they did the notice for your active transportation committee, did they
It
not?
never got,
They did do it, and I've got 3 emails from people that wanted to do it that were in the health bill.
okay, we may have done it.
Stacy.
Will you follow up with that? And if we've got that, let's go ahead and
Get it on our next
Julie, if you
agenda.
can help do an agenda request for the appointment of the Weber Morgan County Health Department representative.
Should teach me how.
Okay. If you'll, and then if you help do the request, then we can, as long as, if it hasn't been done, then let's get it done.
Okay.
Noticed up so that we can have people, and if, but if it has, let's get those applications, include them in the packet, and it's part of our
Okay.
next agenda.
I'll send those 3 back over to you.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I have one more.
We already passed you. No, I'm just
I know,
kidding.
but this
Go
has
ahead.
to do with you tomorrow, with the opioid settlement thing.
Oh, yeah.
We need to discuss it however you guys want to discuss it, just in case you forgot.
I know there's just a meeting, I got your email, which we'll just participate to listen. Did you get, you're having another meeting tomorrow morning?
At 8.
So is he allowed to go and join in on that since he's an attorney? Or is that something different?
Yeah, I mean, he's not representing the county. The problem is if other counties have legal representatives and we don't have a waiver, or, you know, and I'm not present because I'm in the other meeting. But there shouldn't be any legal counsel because we're all in our own meeting. But if it happens to come, there's been some issues with opposing attorneys giving county commissions legal advice without their legal counsel present, which is
So
against the rules.
email I got today, and I was gonna let you kind of run with it a little bit, Garrett, but basically says that there are 8 counties that have not made a decision on this yet, and Morgan is one of them, but there are 8 of the ones, so.
Yeah, so when this first came about, our county attorney at the time basically said he didn't want anything to do with it. So we did not become a party to this from the beginning.
Which means that if we don't participate in this settlement, we won't get anything.
Correct.
Right. Yeah, we'd have to have
And
everything
even
on it all.
participating, my understanding from the meeting that was had at UAC regarding this that I attended was that because we didn't participate from the beginning, even participating now, which we can still join, but we will receive a lesser amount of the settlement
And
as
is
compared to the other counties who did join.
Is it even worse, the tracking and the time and what does the settlement equal, and is it tied to how we have to spend it? I don't even know.
And if you think we need to go into closed session for this, then just say so. and we can do it.
Yeah.
We might as well just go into closed session because it's pending litigation.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss pending litigation.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner McConnell and a second by Commissioner Fackrell to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move into closed
Is that
session.
supposed to be a roll